Chapter 32:03. Calamity. Black wind, black thunder, and flames descended at the same time and blasted Zhuan's body. The powerful bombardment forced Zhuan to retreat. In an instant, Zhuan's chest was blasted open by the three terrifying calamities, forming a huge and terrible wound. Zhuan smashed heavily on the ground, creating a huge and deep pit. Zhuan frantically mobilized the power of the Pangu's sacred body, and his blasted chest quickly recovered. However, he was shocked to find that the number of black holes in the sky was increasing, and so was the number of calamities. Rumble. The calamities mercilessly fell on Zhuan's body. The terrifying energy spread out, and the entire wasteland world trembled violently. Countless cracks began to appear in the world, as if it would collapse at any time. Zhuan looked up to the sky and roared, directly resisting with the Pangu sacred body. He found that although the calamities were very powerful, every time he resisted, his body seemed to have been tempered thousands of times, and its toughness had taken a qualitative leap. He knew very well that as long as he resisted all the calamities, he should be able to completely stabilize the 7-star Pangu sacred body. He might even be able to go further, directly from the early 7-star Pangu sacred body to the middle 7-star Pangu sacred body. Zhuan was hit by the calamities again and again, falling from the sky to the ground again and again. The entire wasteland was full of huge pits formed by Zhuan's fall. As Zhuan continued to resist the calamities, his Pangu sacred body became more and more powerful. It emitted a sparkling light that was as blazing as the sun, illuminating the entire wasteland. Bang! 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 Time passed slowly. Zhuan looked up at the sky and saw countless black holes. These black holes were so dense that they covered the entire sky of the wasteland. Zhuan raised his head to look at the sky. It was as if he could see a pair of dark eyes looking down at him, sizing him up, examining him. Powerful energy fluctuations spread over the entire wasteland. Zhuan saw that the wasteland world was collapsing. He knew that this was the last calamity and also the most terrifying one. The wasteland world could not withstand such terrifying energy. The calamities fell from the sky, and the entire wasteland world space was shrouded in the energy of the calamities, and the air was exuding a destructive aura. As the calamities descended, the wasteland world was collapsing. Zhuan was standing alone in the wasteland. He was like a lonely traveler. He stood, in translation, looking at the terrifying calamities that were about to descend from the sky. When the calamities descended on the wasteland world, Zhuan's body immediately collapsed and turned into a bloody mist sea of blood. However, the moment he turned his translation is translation GMA, poison go translation is translation. When the power of the calamity was too terrifying and came surging over, Zhuan's newly recovered body immediately disintegrated into a mournful mist of blood and powder. Under the calamity's energy, Zhuan's body was constantly being destroyed and restored. Zhuan's eyes were filled with shock. This last calamity was simply too terrifying. It was practically at the level of the apocalypse. His recovery speed was almost unable to keep up with the speed of his physical body's destruction. Zhuan frantically absorbed the heavenly law origin crystals in the wasteland world and used up the heavenly law energy he had just absorbed at an even faster speed. He also had to endure the pain of his body being torn apart. Rumble. The wasteland world exploded and the sky shattered. The entire wasteland world was collapsing at this moment. Zhuan frantically escaped towards the opening created by the wasteland world's collapse. He knew that if this world collapsed, he would be destroyed as well. He was not willing to sit here and wait for death. Finally, at the final moment of the wasteland world's collapse, Zhuan successfully entered the opening and disappeared from this collapsing world. Zhuan only saw a flash in front of his eyes, and he appeared in an empty space. This empty space was surrounded by large black trees, and not far from him, there was a sacrificial altar that was half the height of a person. This was the empty space where Zhuowen had entered the wasteland world. Zhuowen only had his upper body left. His lower body had completely exploded in the calamity. Zhuowen looked at the sacrificial altar not far away and sighed in relief. It seemed that the calamity did not follow him out. Thinking of the final calamity, Zhuowen felt a lingering fear. He really could not imagine how long he would have been able to last if he had continued to stay in that calamity. Zhuowen began to circulate the energy in his body, slowly restoring his lower body. Suddenly, a clear cry sounded from above. Zhuowen looked up and immediately saw the strange bird that had been chasing him. Its scarlet eyes were coldly looking down at him. Damn it, this bastard couldn't have been waiting for me outside, right? Zhuowen's face was ugly. Although he was wary of this strange bird, he was not afraid. Now that his Pangu's sacred body had advanced to 7 stars, his strength had risen to a higher level. Even without the help of the Yamagos picture, Zhuowen could fight this strange bird. Whoosh! The strange bird suddenly swooped down, and Zhuowen's lower body had been completely restored. His entire body emitted a sparkling light that shot up to the sky and the earth as he slowly bent his knees. The moment Zhuowen was about to jump into the sky, the sacrificial altar not far away suddenly exploded. Immediately, the calamity energy, which was the fusion of Xian thunder, black wind, flames, and other terrifying energies, enveloped Zhuowen like a tide. Damn it! Why is it still not letting me go? The moment he saw the calamity surging toward him, Zhuowen was so scared that he immediately retreated. The moment Zhuowen retreated, the strange bird swooped down and landed right where Zhuowen had been standing. The calamity energy poured down on the strange bird's body. A shrill scream exploded in the entire open space out of thin air and rushed into the sky. The surrounding black trees were so shocked that their leaves fell down. The strange bird's wings flapped crazily, wanting to take off and get rid of the terrifying calamity energy. Unfortunately, all of its efforts were in vain. The calamity energy was like maggots that constantly wrapped around the strange bird, binding it round after round and tightly restraining it. Even though the strange bird's skin was rough and thick, under the bombardment of the calamity energy, countless pieces of flesh and blood burst out. It was riddled with wounds, and even the bones under the flesh and blood could be seen. Zhuowen watched this scene silently. He found that the calamity energy no longer followed him when it enveloped the strange bird, as if it had completely forgotten about him. It seems that the strange bird has passed the last calamity for me. Zhuowen's eyes were full of pity as he looked at the wailing strange bird. The strange bird was very powerful. It had the strength of a mid-stage Skirich master, but under this calamity, it was still in a desperate state. In Zhuowen's opinion, even if the strange bird could survive this calamity, it would not be far from death. The calamity energy gradually receded and finally dissipated. The strange bird's massive body crashed to the ground. Zhuowen looked over and his heart trembled. He saw that there was almost no intact part of the strange bird's body. Its skin was torn open and its flesh was badly mangled. Zhuowen looked over and saw that almost all that was left of the strange bird was a skeleton. Only 1/3 of its body still had flesh and blood, and it was minced flesh and blood. It looked extremely miserable. At this moment, the strange bird kept struggling and wailing. Its eyes were already blind, and its head had been blown up to only 1/3 of its body. It couldn't see Zhuowen at all. Zhuowen slowly walked over to the strange bird and sighed softly. If you had not attacked me, perhaps you would not have ended up like this. It's fate. I'll send you on your way so that you can avoid more pain. Chapter 3204. Killing Intent in the Black Forest Plop. The strange bird let out a wail and fell to the ground, losing all signs of life. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The moment the strange bird fell to the ground, Zhuowen heard rustling noises coming from the surrounding black forest. In his eyes, black shadows were flashing and running. Deep, beastly roars rang out one after another, surrounding the open space. Zhuowen slowly stood up and looked at the flashing black shadows in the surrounding forest. He knew that the commotion just now was too big and had attracted the attention of other creatures in the mountain area. Now, many creatures had gathered and were ready to attack, eyeing him covetously. Zhuowen's whole body was shining, and his eyes were like torches. The sword chi around him was not affected at all. Since Zhuowen's Panga's sacred body had reached 7 stars, it had taken a qualitative leap. The sword chi in the mountain area could not even break his skin. Roar! Suddenly, a black shadow roared and rushed out of the secret order. It was a fierce tiger that was 30 meters tall. Its whole body was black, and it had scaly skin. Its strong muscles were constantly wriggling as it ran, showing its great strength. The black tiger was not very strong. Judging from its aura, it was probably only half a step away from the Master of Heaven. The black tiger's scarlet eyes were shining with a ferocious and greedy light. It opened its bloody mouth, as if it was going to swallow Zhuowen whole. However, when the black tiger was in front of Zhuowen, Zhuowen suddenly stretched out his right hand and clasped the black tiger's neck. What was shocking was that the black tiger's neck was in Zhuowen's hand. No matter how hard it struggled, it could not get rid of it. The black tiger's eyes were filled with fear. It did not expect this human to be so strong. It wanted to break free, but it found that all its efforts were in vain. Bang! Zhuowen abruptly exerted force with his right hand and pressed Black Tiger to the ground. Shortly after, his left hand formed a fist and suddenly smashed down. The entire Forbidden Death mountain range shook. The Black Tiger's head exploded, and a terrifying deep hole appeared on the ground. The headless Black Tiger's body struggled unconsciously and finally stopped moving completely. It could not be more dead. When Zhuowen killed the Black Tiger with a single punch, Zhuowen could clearly feel that the movements of the shadows in the surrounding dark forest had stagnated for a moment. Clearly, this move of his had intimidated the creatures hiding in the forest. Zhuowen's eyes were cold. He picked up the Black Tiger's body and threw it behind him. The Black Tiger's corpse whistled through the air as it was violently flung out by him. Instantly, the several creatures that had originally rushed out from the black forest behind him, wanting to launch a sneak attack on him, were immediately struck by the Black Tiger's corpse and could not help but fly backwards into the black forest. The moment Zhuowen threw out the Black Tiger's corpse, Zhuowen pushed off with his right foot and entered the dense forest ahead. There were many creatures in the mountain area. He could not waste his time with them here. He had to pass through the forest as soon as possible, reach the peak of the mountain, and leave this place. The moment Zhuowen entered the forest, he was immediately attacked by several black shadows. These black shadows were also black tigers. However, these black tigers were weaker than the previous one. They were only at the peak of the creation realm. Zhuowen punched out with his fist, and it was like a rainbow piercing through the sun. It pierced through the bodies of the black tigers that were blocking his way, and he suddenly threw them to the ground. After that, he continued forward. Although Zhuowen's eyes were calm, he was a little anxious. The moment these creatures appeared, Zhuowen had already used the torch dragon's eye. He saw clearly that there were at least 3 figures surrounding him. What made him even more fearful was that there were 7 sky-reaching master-level creatures. The 2 strongest among them were at the mid-stage of the sky-reaching master level. They were powerful creatures on the same level as the strange bird and the giant python. The only thing that made Zhuowen heave a sigh of relief was that these 7 sky-reaching master-level creatures did not make a move and were silently following him. He also found that these sky-reaching master-level creatures were not on the same side. While they were following him, they were also on guard against each other, as if they were guarding against a thief. What Zhuowen was most afraid of was that these 7 sky-reaching master-level creatures were in the same group. If these 7 sky-reaching master-level creatures joined forces to encircle Zhuowen, he would really be in danger. Zhuowen continued to leap through the black forest, and on both sides of him, dense, rustling noises could be heard. Black shadows followed him like ghosts, ready to attack at any time to deal a fatal blow to Zhuowen. Whoosh! Another black shadow unexpectedly flew over from the side of Zhuowen. It opened its bloody mouth and bit toward Zhuowen's chest. Zhuo Wen's eyes were calm as he continued to move forward. He threw out a punch and smashed it on the Black Shadow's head. The Black Shadow let out a wail. Its head was directly smashed into pieces, splattering countless amounts of blood and gore. Next, as Zhuo kept running, more and more Black Shadows rushed out of the dark forest and launched fatal attacks on Zhuo. However, all of them were smoothly blocked by Zhuo. Zhuo's body was covered in blood, making him look like a violent and bloody man. Most of the blood came from the strange beasts. Zhuo, on the other hand, was basically uninjured. It had to be said that the 7-star Pangu's sacred body was indeed much stronger than the 6-star Pangu's sacred body. If it weren't for the advancement of Zhuo's Pangu's sacred body, Zhuo wouldn't have had a chance to escape from the encirclement of these powerful creatures. However, Zhuo didn't dare to be careless. As he approached the peak of the mountain, he noticed through the torch dragon's eyes that the 7 sky-reaching master-level creatures that had been chasing him without making a move began to move. Zhuo's hands formed into claws and tore apart 2 strange beasts that were half a step away from the sky-reaching master-level creatures. His eyelids twitched. A huge black yak rushed over, its huge horns emitting a cold light. Zhuo was no stranger to this black yak. When he was in a mountainside area, he met a black yak at the early stage of the sky-reaching master level. He didn't expect that this black yak would be attracted to the mountainside area and was now chasing after him. "You're courting death." Zhuo's eyes were cold. He jumped and landed on the black yak's head. He grabbed the black yak's hard horns with both hands. Roar! Roar! The black bull angrily roared, constantly swinging its huge head, its huge body rampaging through the black forest. One black tree after another was knocked to the ground by the black bull. Zhuo's eyes revealed a ruthless look. Using the torch dragon's eyes, he saw that the other 6 sky-reaching master-level creatures were ready to make a move. He knew very well that if he didn't get rid of this black yak quickly, the other 6 sky-reaching master-level creatures would think that he was weak and would attack one after another to fight for him. If he wanted to make the other 6 sky-reaching master-level creatures afraid, he had to show enough strength. Die! Zhuo made a gesture with his right hand and used the profound, meaning sky-splitting blade. In an instant, a blazing light condensed in the palm of his right hand. Then, a huge light blade filled with an ancient aura appeared in Zhuo's hand. Even Zhuo was startled by the vast aura. However, Zhuo didn't think too much about it. He held the sky-splitting blade and stabbed it into the black yak's head. Immediately, blood spurted out. Zhuo condensed another sky-splitting blade and stabbed it into the black yak's head again. The black yak cried out in pain and shook its head even harder. Chapter 32:05. The Golden Maoshuan found that after advancing to the 7-star Pangu sacred body, all his qualities had undergone a qualitative transformation. At the same time, Zhuo also found that the power of the 5 profound meanings given by the Pangu banner had also undergone a qualitative transformation. Before advancing to the 7-star Pangu sacred body, Zhuo's 7-splitting blade could not hurt a creature at the early stage of the 7-reaching master. But now, the 7-splitting blade could easily cut open the head of a creature at the early stage of the 7-reaching master like the black bull and tear it apart. This was a result that Zhuo did not expect. Moreover, Zhuo also found that after merging with the Candle Dragon Goo worm, his understanding of space-time had become more thorough and clearer. All the misconceptions about the power of space-time had been cleared up at this moment. If he were to use the Fate space-time kill again, its power would definitely be terrifying. His speed would also be much faster than before. All of this was brought about by the Candle Dragon Goo worm. At this moment, the Black Bull's huge body was still struggling violently. It kept swaying to a great extent. Zhuo put his hands together, and the 2 7-splitting blades merged into a huge broadsword. Zhuo jumped down and stabbed the broadsword in his hand into the Black Bull's back. Then, with the help of the falling force, the broadsword slid directly from the Black Bull's back to its chest and abdomen. When Zhuo landed on the ground, The black bull was cut in half by the broadsword. Blood splattered everywhere. The black bull screamed and fell to the ground, completely motionless. The moment the black bull was killed, Zhuowen saw through the candle dragon's eyes that many of the black shadows surrounding him had stopped moving. Their eyes were filled with fear. The other 6 creatures at the 7-reaching master level in the deepest part were even more shocked. They were originally ready to attack, but they were stunned for a moment. "You'd better not provoke me. Otherwise, I'll kill you too." Zhuowen looked in the direction of the 6 creatures at the 7-reaching master level. His voice was terrifyingly low, and he did not hide the killing intent in his eyes. After saying that, Zhuowen stomped his right foot and quickly left. In the depths of the Black Forest, 6 powerful beings at the Master of Heaven level watched Zhuowen's departing figure with flickering eyes. No one knew what they were thinking. At their level of cultivation, they had already developed spiritual intelligence. Their spiritual intelligence was even higher than most humans. Of the 6 sky-reaching lords, 2 of the other 4 were clearly the leaders. One of them was a palm-sized golden rat, while the other was a tiger-headed monster with a human body. Both of them had the strength of a mid-level Heavenspan lord. Although the golden rat looked inconspicuous, its aura was extremely terrifying. It wasn't any weaker than the tiger-headed exotic beast. This human isn't simple. He was able to kill Old Cow so easily, which means that he should have strength comparable to a mid-stage Skirich Master. It's best that we don't provoke such an existence. The tiger-headed strange beast said coldly. The golden rat sneered and said, "Sure who? When did you become so cowardly? He's just a mere human. As long as we join forces, killing him will be easy." "Gold Devourer, you want to go after that human?" "Why?" The tiger-headed man asked with a frown. "I just don't like that human and want to kill him. I can't bear to see him act so arrogantly in front of me." The golden rat sneered, then turned into a golden shadow and disappeared on the spot. It chased after Zhuowen. The tiger-headed man looked at the golden rat's departing figure with a thoughtful expression. He had dealt with Gold Devourer for many years and knew how shrewd this guy was. He was sure that this guy wouldn't attack just because he didn't like the human. This guy usually had a strong motive for attacking. Since Gold Devourer was determined to attack that human, there must be something on that human that Gold Devourer wanted. Sure Who frowned slightly. He had a strange feeling in his heart, but when he thought of Black Cow's miserable state, his heart turned cold. He was indeed much stronger than the Black Bull. However, he was sure that the human was no weaker than him. If he were to fight the human head-on, both of them would be severely injured at most. He might not even be able to kill the human. "I can follow and take a look," Sure Who thought to himself. Then, he looked at the other 4 strange beasts beside him. He could see the fear in their eyes. These 4 strange beasts were about the same strength as Black Cow. When they saw Black Cow being easily dealt with by the human, they knew that they were no match for him. Naturally, they gave up on the idea of chasing after him. "Everyone, let's disperse. That human isn't someone to be trifled with. We don't have to fight to the death with him. It's too disadvantageous for us." Sure Who waved his hand. The 4 strange beasts let out a sigh of relief and dispersed into the depths of the Black Forest, disappearing from sight. After the other black shadows lost their target, they also left on their own. Sure Who's eyes flickered. He quietly flew in the direction where the golden rat went. Zhuowen was very fast. Moreover, the altar wasn't far from the peak of the mountain. Therefore, he only took an hour to reach the peak. He realized that the peak of the mountain was the only place in the forbidden Death Mountain range that didn't have the Black Forest. It was covered in a thick layer of snow. With a glance, Zhuowen saw the side of a mountain covered in white in front of him. It was emitting the fluctuations of a formation. Zhuowen flew to the side of the mountain. With a wave of his sleeve, a powerful wave of energy brushed past. The snow on the side of the mountain turned into water and poured down. On the exposed rock wall of the mountain, Zhuowen saw a huge formation. Zhuowen could tell that this was a very high-level teleportation formation. Moreover, it could teleport dozens of people at once. There were hundreds of grooves around the formation. Zhuowen knew that these grooves were used to place heavenly Tao origin crystals to provide the energy needed by the teleportation formation. Zhuowen was about to take out the heavenly Tao origin crystals and place them in the grooves of the teleportation formation when a strong sense of danger overwhelmed him. Zhuowen didn't even think about it. He turned around and rolled. Then, not far from him, a golden figure flashed and heavily smashed into the ground, directly blasting the mountain into nothingness. Zhuowen landed lightly on another mountain peak. His gaze was solemn as he looked at the exploded mountain peak. He saw that the attacker was actually a palm-sized golden rat. The moment he saw this golden rat, Zhuowen's eyes burst out with coldness. He was no stranger to this golden rat. It was one of the 7 sky-reaching master-level creatures that were secretly spying on him in the Black Forest. Moreover, this golden rat wasn't an ordinary sky-reaching master-level creature. Its cultivation should have reached the middle stage of the sky-reaching master level. Its strength couldn't be underestimated. Hehe, your reaction is quite fast, human. The golden rat floated in the air, its golden eyes staring coldly at Zhuowen. I already warned you before, but you still dare to follow. It seems that you're not afraid of death. Zhuowen calmed down, his voice filled with killing intent. Do you really think you can kill me? That's ridiculous. The one who's going to die today is you, not me. Human, obediently hand over what you got from the altar. Otherwise, your death won't be so easy. The golden rat floated in the air with its arms crossed, looking calmly at Zhuowen, full of confidence. Zhuowen kicked off with his right foot and rushed toward the golden rat. He arrived in front of it in an instant and punched out with his right fist. The golden rat sneered and turned into a golden shadow, trying to dodge Zhuowen's punch. But soon, the golden rat realized that something was wrong. The moment it retreated, black chains stretched out one after another, trapping it in all directions. The moment it came into contact with these black chains, it felt as if its soul was being torn apart. It wanted to break free, but found that these chains firmly bound it. There was no way it could escape. You're the one who wants to die, so don't blame me. Zhuowen's eyes were cold. His right hand formed a sky-splitting blade and attached it to the sky-splitting blade. A terrifying aura of destruction surrounded the sky-splitting blade, causing its power to reach an unprecedented level. Pucci. Chapter 3206. Seeing the Black King again. Pucci. The sky-piercing blade pierced the golden rat's chest. Zhuowen found that the sky-piercing blade had only penetrated a few inches before it was stuck by the golden rat's flesh. After all, this golden rat was a terrifying existence at the middle stage of the sky-piercing realm. How could it be so easily destroyed by Zhuowen? However, the golden rat wasn't having a good time either. The terrifying destructive energy of the sky-piercing blade was like maggots that invaded its body, constantly destroying its meridians, flesh, and blood. Bang! The golden rat exploded with a blazing golden light, and the sky-piercing blade that had pierced into its body instantly dissipated. Zhuowen retreated repeatedly, and the Yama ghost diagram above his head produced even more ghost chains that tightly bound the golden rat. As for Zhuowen, he endured the pain of the Yama ghost diagram's backlash. He took out the Ho-E godly bow and Ho-E godly arrow from his macro world, pulled them into a full moon shape, and released his fingers. The Ho-E godly arrow shot out, transforming into a streak of bloody light. Boom! The Ho-E godly arrow pierced into the golden rat's body, and a terrifying killing intent exploded within the golden rat's body. However, the golden rat's skin was tough, and the Ho-E godly arrow only pierced the tip of the arrow, but it didn't pierce through. Zhuowen took out the second Ho-E godly arrow, pulled it into a full moon shape, and shot it out again. This Ho-E godly arrow was much more powerful than the first one. Nearly half of the arrow pierced into the golden rat's body, and a bloody mist exploded. The golden rat's aura was rapidly weakening. The golden rat's eyes were filled with fear. It had never imagined that this human in front of it would have such a powerful trump card. If it had known, it definitely wouldn't have chased after him. Wasn't this just looking for a beating? Ah, human, you win. I, Gold Devourer, will remember you. The golden rat shone brightly like a rising golden sun. The two godly arrows were forced out of its body, and then turned into a streak of golden light, passing through the ghost chains and disappearing into the black forest behind it. After putting away the godly arrows and ghost chains, Zhuan's face was pale. He staggered, and a look of pity appeared in his eyes. It seemed that a middle-stage, sky-piercing realm creature wasn't so easy to deal with. This golden rat was clearly in a dead end, and yet it was still able to use its trump card to escape. This caused Zhuo to become vigilant. In the future, when he fought against such an expert, he had to be extra careful. Zhuan's godly Yama ghost diagram. The Yama ghost diagram as a Yama ghost diagram, as Yamago Shana. In addition, Zhuan had caught it off guard, so the golden rat was easily trapped by Zhuo. In the end, it could only be beaten up by Zhuo. If the golden rat had been prepared, Zhuo believed that he would not have been able to defeat the golden rat so easily. He would have had to put in a lot of effort. Moreover, the series of attacks just now had exhausted almost 70% of Zhuo's strength. Zhuo might not even be able to defeat an early-stage, sky-piercing realm creature. However, Zhuo didn't dare to show that he was weak. He used the torch dragon's eye to discover who hiding in the dark, not far away. Zhuo endured the discomfort in his body and went to the side of the mountain. He used the heavenly Tao origin crystal to fill up all the grooves. Then, a powerful teleportation force swept over. Zhuo was swept in by the teleportation force. He let out a sigh of relief. He knew he was completely safe now. Who had been hiding in a dark corner of the Black Forest, saw Zhuo disappear into the transportation formation. His eyes were filled with shock when he came out. The battle between Zhuo and the golden rat just now. He had seen it all with his eyes. He knew that the human was strong, but he didn't expect him to be this strong. Gold Devourer's strength was close to his, but he was almost killed by the human. Could the human be a late-stage, sky-piercing realm expert? Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to subdue Gold Devourer so easily. If Gold Devourer hadn't used a secret technique, it would have been a corpse now. He really is a jinx. Fortunately, he left. Otherwise, the entire Forbidden Mountain area wouldn't be peaceful. Who glanced at the formation on the rock wall with fear. Then, he retreated into the dark forest. Zhuo opened his eyes and discovered that he had appeared in an extremely unfamiliar place. It was a blood-red wasteland. There was nothing in sight. This reminded Zhuo of the small world where the torch dragon's corpse was stored. This place was almost exactly the same as the small world. They were both wastelands. The only difference was that there was a hideous blood moon in the sky. There were 3 stars in the sky of the wasteland. No, this isn't the primitive celestial domain. It's a small world. What's going on? Zhuo frowned. He was confused. Suddenly, Zhuo felt the sky darken as an enormous black shadow streaked across the top of his head. Then, the huge black shadow landed on the wasteland. Its huge body was like a huge mountain. When it landed on the ground, it caused a terrifying tremor. It was as if there was an earthquake. It was a huge lion that looked like it was made of black iron. Zhuo stood in front of the black iron lion. He was like a tiny ant. Zhuo's face turned green the moment he saw the black iron lion. He cursed, F*CKU, Black King. How dare you appear in front of me? The black iron lion that appeared in front of Zhuo was the Black King who had guided Zhuo into the secret passage. Of course, the Black King's guidance was completely wrong. He had led Zhuo into the F*King massacre celestial domain. The Black King held his forehead helplessly and quickly said, I say, Zhuo, calm down. Don't be so agitated. This is not good for your body. Do you understand? Zhuo's gaze was cold and said, Back then, you deliberately lured me into the massacre celestial domain. Now that you've teleported me to this small world, what is your purpose? Zhuo had already calmed down. He could not see through this Black King. He suspected that this fellow's strength was at the peak of the Master of Heaven Ascension. Against such a great expert, even if he used all his strength, he would not be a match for this fellow. Furthermore, whether or not he could enter the prehistoric celestial domain depended on the Black King, so Zhuowen did not plan to fall out with this fellow. I admit that I deliberately lured you into the massacre celestial domain. However, I was entrusted by someone. I will compensate you for this. The Black King said helplessly. Entrusted by someone? Who is it? Zhuowen asked with a vigilant expression. You should know this person as well. It's that old fellow, the three pure ones. This old fellow said that he was trying to test you. So he set you up? Chapter 32:07. Controlling demons and monsters. When narrowed his eyes at the mention of the three pure ones. He knew that the three pure ones mentioned by the Black King were the Taoist three pure ones in the Xianmi heavenly domain. The Taoist three pure ones merged into one in the Huaxia heavenly domain and called himself Lao Zi. After the Taoist Tai Ching merged with the Shang Qing and the Yu Qing, he said that he hid in the Huaxia heavenly domain because he was seriously injured. After he recovered his strength, he returned to the Xianmi heavenly domain. However, Zhuowen had been in the Xianmi heavenly domain for so many years, but he had never heard of any traces of the three pure ones. Zhuowen had guessed where the three pure ones were. It was probably the heaven-accessing secret land that Mai Yujia had mentioned to him before. Did the three pure ones ask you to lure me into the slaughter heavenly domain to train me? Didn't they know that the slaughter heavenly domain was full of dangers? What if I died there or couldn't get out? Zhuowen said in an unfriendly tone. He had something important to do in the untainted heavenly domain. Now, he had been delayed by the Taoist Tai Ching and the Black King. The Black King rubbed his hands and said with a smile, Of course we thought about that. I even made a bet with the three pure ones about it. What bet? Zhuowen had a bad feeling and asked. We bet that you could survive in the slaughter heavenly domain for a month. If you could, the three pure ones would win. If you couldn't, I would win. Unfortunately, not only did you survive a month, but you also got out of the slaughter heavenly domain. Alas, I'm so disappointed. The Black King sighed as he spoke, as if Zhuowen coming out alive was bad news for him. Zhuowen was speechless as he looked at the Black King, who was constantly sighing with emotion. He had the guts to go up and beat this guy up. However, Zhuowen resisted the impulse. He knew that the Black King's strength was mysterious. If he acted impulsively, it was hard to tell who would be beaten up. Then, you sent me to this small world to silence me? Zhuowen's muscles tensed up as he stared at the Black King with a cold look in his eyes. Regardless of whether it was the Black King in front of him or the mysterious three pure ones, he did not know their specific intentions, nor did he know why they were looking for him. However, he knew that nothing good would come out of it. The Black King hurriedly waved his hand and said, How is that possible? What I, the Black King, hate the most is bullying the weak. You are so weak. How can I be in a mood to fight you? This time, I called you over mainly to compensate you. Compensation? Zhuowen frowned. You have a lot of secrets on you. Not only did he have the Ho-E Divine Bow and Ho-E Divine Arrow, but he also had the Yama Demon Portrait, a top-tier divine artifact, and the Panga's Sacred Body. In this expanse of the starry sky, it's practically impossible to find a second person who possesses such fortune like you. The Black King shook his head and looked at Zhuowen with eyes full of envy. Zhuowen's pupils constricted as he stared at the Black King. He was the only one who knew these secrets. How did the Black King know them so clearly? I've seen your performance in the massacre celestial realm. If I still can't see these things on you, then I can only say that I'm blind. But don't worry, I don't care about these things. I won't compete with a junior like you. The Black King looked at Zhuowen with amusement. Zhuowen looked at the Black King solemnly. When he saw that the Black King did not mention the mysterious stone he had obtained, he knew that the Black King did not know about the mysterious stone in his possession. Of course, Zhuowen knew that if the Black King knew that the mysterious stone contained the primordial technique, which defied the heavens and surpassed this expanse of the starry sky, he would not be so calm. Fortunately, the primordial technique was only a stream of information that existed in the primordial stone. Moreover, it was in the primordial language. Even if the Black King saw it, he would not be able to understand it. Therefore, Zhuan was not afraid of the Black King questioning him. After all, this thing was of little value to the Black King if he could not understand it, let alone cultivate it. How are you going to compensate me? Zhuan calmed down and asked in a low voice. The Black King grinned and said, "That's simple. You should have opened the second layer of the Yama ghost diagram, right? In the second layer of the Yama demon diagram, there are 4 terrifying ghosts, namely Qi, Mei, Wang, and Liang. These 4 ghosts were nurtured by the previous master of the Yama ghost diagram, the Yama Ghost King, for countless years. Each of them has the strength of a mid-stage, heaven-piercing master. You are still too weak to control the Yama Ghost King. However, I can help you strengthen your control over these 4 ghosts and make them work for you." Hearing this, Zhuan's heart trembled. When he had opened the second layer of the Yama ghost diagram, a terrifying ghost had rushed out and destroyed the troublesome green skeleton. At that time, he had guessed that the ghost's strength was at least at the early stage of the heaven-piercing master realm. It seemed like his guess was right. Moreover, there were 4 of them at once. If he could control the Yama Ghost King, wouldn't it mean that he would have 4 mid-stage heaven-piercing masters as his henchmen? If Senior can help me control the Yama Ghost King, Junior will be eternally grateful. Zhuan cupped his fists and bowed to the Black King. He knew that the Black King was taking the initiative to express goodwill, so he naturally could not put on a high and mighty attitude. The Black King chuckled and waved his hand, saying, "No need to be so polite. Take out the Yama Ghost diagram and open the second layer. Release the Yama Ghost diagram and let the Yama Ghost King out. This king will teach those 4 ghosts a lesson." Hearing this, Zhuan did not hesitate and took out the Yama Ghost diagram. With a thought, he opened the second layer of the Yama Ghost diagram. Suddenly, billowing black smoke spread out, and Zhuan's face turned pale. Opening the second layer of the Yama Ghost diagram had a great impact on Zhuan's divine soul. Fortunately, after Zhuan's Panga's sacred body had advanced, his divine soul had become much stronger. Although it was a little difficult to open the second layer, he could still hold on. Roar, 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 roar. Like ferocious ghosts, for black shadows suddenly rushed out of the opening of the Yama Ghost diagram. As soon as the 4 black shadows appeared, a terrifying pressure shrouded the surroundings, causing the pressure on the surrounding earth to increase by hundreds and thousands of times. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 4 ferocious ghosts locked their scarlet eyes on Zhuan as soon as they appeared. Then, they rushed toward Zhuan with the same target. Their killing intent surged toward Zhuan like a tide. Zhuan's face changed slightly. These 4 Yama Ghost Kings were indeed difficult to tame. They wanted to kill their master as soon as they appeared. "Humph! For little ghosts, how dare you be so arrogant in front of me? Get the hell over here." The Black King, who was not far away, snorted coldly. A sound wave swept over like a ripple. Suddenly, the entire space seemed to have frozen. The strong pressure surged like a tide. Zhuan's body trembled. Under the pressure, he could not move. Fear appeared in his eyes. The Black King was too terrifying. With just a snort, the entire space seemed to have frozen. His body was suppressed, and he could not move. Moreover, he realized that the Black King was not targeting him, but the 4 Yama Ghost Kings. In other words, just the aftermath of the attack was enough to make him sit and wait for death. How powerful must the Black King be to do that? The 4 Yama Ghost Kings were originally flying in the air and rushing toward Zhuan. Unfortunately, they were affected by the Black King's power and were all frozen in the air. They could not move at all. The Black King slowly came to the side of the 4 Yama Ghost Kings. One of his black claws gently touched the back of a ghost's head. Immediately, a black thread floated out from the back of the ghost's head and fell into the Black King's hand. Chapter 3208. The Black King's bargaining chip Black King held the 4 strands of black threads in his hand and threw them to Zhuo, saying, "These are the ghost tendons of the Qi Mei Liang and Wang Liang, which is equivalent to half of their lives. You can use these ghost tendons to control them. Refine these ghost tendons into your spirit. This way, you can stimulate them with just a thought and reach the level of controlling the demons and monsters." Zhuo took the ghost tendons and heard the Black King's voice. He also realized that the Black King's terrifying pressure had disappeared from his body. He looked at the motionless demons and monsters in the sky and cupped his hands at the Black King. Then he sat cross-legged on the ground and began to refine them. What surprised him was that although the ghost tendons looked strange, they were easy to refine. He knew that the Black King must have done something to them. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to refine them so easily. For hours later, the 4 ghost tendons were completely refined by Zhuo and integrated into his spirit. At this moment, Zhuo felt that he no longer feared the 4 demons and monsters in front of him. Instead, he felt that he had full control over them. As long as he wanted to, he could make these 4 demons and monsters bow down to him. "Kid, are you done refining them?" the Black King asked with a chuckle as he leaned against a weathered cliff. When he saw Zhuo open his eyes, he asked. Zhuo nodded, his eyes flashing. "Since you're done refining them, I'll leave these 4 guys to you. Let's see if you can handle them well." The Black King chuckled, and the terrifying pressure on the 4 demons and monsters receded like the tide. The 4 demons and monsters, who had been frozen in midair, let out ferocious roars the moment the pressure receded. They all flew toward Zhuo. These 4 demons and monsters seemed to have no sense of reason, but they were not stupid. They knew that the Black King was too terrifying, so they consciously did not provoke the Black King. Instead, they vented their anger on Zhuo. Zhuo narrowed his eyes as he stared at the 4 monsters who were lunging at him crazily. With a thought in his mind, he tore apart the 4 ghost tendons in his divine soul. Instantly, the 4 demons that were originally pouncing toward Zhuo had a splitting headache. They fell from the sky and crashed heavily onto the ground. They hugged their heads and kept rolling on the ground, letting out owl-like howls. Zhuo constantly urged his divine soul to tear the ghost tendons. The 4 demons and monsters cried out in pain, their voices sinister and mournful. Finally, a ghost knelt in front of Zhuo and continuously kowtowed to Zhuo. Finally, it let out a whimper and actually begged for mercy from Zhuo. Plop, plop, plop. The other 3 ghosts also knelt on the ground and kowtowed fiercely to Zhuo. The pain of having their ghost tendons torn apart was too terrifying. They could not bear it at all. Moreover, they also knew that the ghost tendons were controlled by this human. It was equivalent to having half of their lives in his hands. With a thought, this human could crush half of their lives. They wanted to live, so they had no choice but to submit. After realizing this fact, the 4 ghosts were no longer as rebellious as they were before. Zhuo waved his sleeve, and the 4 ghosts turned into 4 black shadows and were sucked into the Yama ghost picture. He knew that after these 4 ghosts recognized their master, they would not dare to disobey his orders again. If they dared to disobey, he would not hesitate to tear the ghost tendons. This was his determination to the 4 ghosts. He knew very well that these 4 ghosts were all ruthless masters who feared nothing. If he was not more ruthless than these ghosts, he would suffer a calamity. "Thank you, Senior." After putting away the Yama ghost picture, Zhuo cupped his hands towards the Black King. These words were sincere. I said that I would compensate you. Naturally, I will do it. Moreover, this is just a small matter to me." The Black King said indifferently. Zhuo smiled embarrassedly and took out 2 Ho Yi's godly arrows from the outside world. He said, "Senior, look. After all, these Ho Yi's godly arrows are the divine weapons of the great shaman Ho Yi. However, they do not seem to be as powerful as expected." Zhuo felt that the Ho Yi's godly arrows were not fully unleashed. He felt that the golden crow's blood on the surface of the Ho Yi's godly arrows were causing trouble. He planned to ask the Black King to completely remove the golden crow's blood on the surface of the Ho Yi's godly arrows. The surface of your Ho Yi's godly arrows is contaminated by the golden crow's blood. Its power is sealed in the golden crow's blood. Naturally, it cannot unleash much of its power. Right, it's the same for your Ho Yi's godly bow, the Black King said indifferently. Zhuan chuckled. He licked his lips and said, Senior, removing the golden crow's blood should be a small matter for you, right? Can you help me remove the golden crow's blood? The Black King's face sank. He said with some displeasure, Kid, don't push your luck. I was already very displeased because you lost to that old bastard, the Three Purities. I've already shown great kindness by helping you tame your demons. You still want me to help you remove the golden crow's blood on your Ho Yi's godly arrows and godly bow? How can it be such a good deal? Zhuan was slightly embarrassed. The Black King was right. After all, the Black King had already done enough to help him tame his demons. Asking for more would be a little too much. Kid, actually, it's not impossible for me to help you remove the golden crow's blood on your Ho Yi's godly bow and godly arrows. I can even tell you where the other 8 Ho Yi's godly arrows are. However, there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. The Black King rubbed his hands together and revealed a rather vulgar smile. What do you mean? Zhuan's gaze was calm. He knew that the Black King wanted to raise a condition. It's very simple. I heard that you have the Secretary of Heavenly Divination with you. That item is related to the power of destiny. I'm very interested in that item. If you can give me a copy of the Secretary of Heavenly Divination, I can help you remove the golden crow's blood. The Black King rubbed his hands together as anticipation appeared in his eyes. Zhuan sighed in his heart. He knew that the Black King would raise a condition, but he didn't expect it to be the Secretary of Heavenly Divination. Speaking of which, the Secretary of Heavenly Divination was given to Zhuan after he mysteriously became the sect master of the Giant Spirit sect. Later on, he comprehended the Secretary of Heavenly Divination and combined his space-time energy to create the Destiny Space-Time Annihilation. Speaking of which, the predecessor of the Destiny Space-Time Annihilation was the first ability that Zhuan created, the Purple Sun Above the Sea. The Purple Sun Above the Sea was a powerful ability that combined space-time, energy, and 9th-level Dao insights. In the Destiny Space-Time Annihilation, one could see the shadow of the former ability, the Purple Sun Above the Sea. Since then, he didn't really comprehend the Secretary of Heavenly Divination. Now that the Black King brought it up, he recalled the Secretary of Heavenly Divination. Just removing the golden crow's blood isn't enough to exchange for the Secretary of Heavenly Divination. Zhuan's gaze was solemn. He could see the desire in the Black King's eyes. He knew that the Secretary of Heavenly Divination was definitely not simple. Even an existence at the Black King's level desired it so much. After all, that item was related to the power of destiny. I can also tell you the location of the other 8 Ho Yi Divine arrows, the Black King continued. It's still not enough. Zhuan shook his head. The Black King frowned. He took a deep look at Zhuan and continued. I can also provide you with clues to the location of the 3 ancestral shaman corpses. This is the highest bargaining chip I can offer. Chapter 3209. Heaven accessing place ever since his Panga's sacred body had been promoted to 7 stars. Zhuan realized that it would be much more difficult to promote his Panga's sacred body than before. It could be said that his Panga's sacred body would not have a chance to be promoted without the ancient sorcery insects. What he lacked now was the ancient sorcery insects. Now that the Black King could provide him with the location of the 3 ancient sorcery insects, how could he not be excited? If he could integrate the 3 ancient sorcery insects at once, Zhuan believed that he could directly promote his Panga's sacred body from the early stage of 7 stars to 8 stars. The Black King laughed and said, "Little guy, is my bargaining chip enough? As long as you give me a copy of the Secretary of Divination, I will give you the location of the 3 ancient sorcery insects I know. And I will also help you clean the golden crow's blood on the surface of the Ho Yi Divine Bow and Divine Arrow. I will also tell you the location of the other 8 Ho Yi Divine Arrows. These will be my gifts to you." Zhuowen nodded and took out the Secretary of Divination from the macro world. After making a copy of it, he gave the copy to the Black King. Zhuowen knew that the gap between him and the Black King was too big. If the Black King wanted to rob him, it would only take a thought. In front of such a strong person, Zhuowen really did not need to hide anything from the Secretary of Divination. The Black King was very satisfied with Zhuowen's straightforward approach. The Black King took the copy of the Secretary of Divination and observed it repeatedly. After confirming that there was no problem with the Secretary of Divination, he said to Zhuowen, "Little guy, take out your Ho-E-Divine Bow and Ho-E-Divine Arrow." Zhuowen nodded and took out the Ho-E-Divine Bow and Ho-E-Divine Arrow and handed them to the Black King. The Black King took the Ho-E-Divine Bow and Ho-E-Divine Arrow and observed them for a while. Then he spread out his right claw, and a black flame burned in his palm. The flame was dark and deep. The Black King put the Ho-E-Divine Bow and Ho-E-Divine Arrow into the black flame. Zhuowen could clearly see the blood stains on the surface of Ho-Yi's Divine Bow and Divine Arrow gradually fade away after they were put into the dark fire. They began to return to their original appearance. The black flames slowly dissipated. The Divine Bow and Divine Arrow floating above the Black King's palm were no longer stained with blood. Instead, they emitted a golden color. From afar, this golden color seemed to be emitting golden light under the reflection of the light. What shocked Zhuowen even more was that at this moment, the completely new Ho-Yi's godly bow and godly arrow actually emanated an unprecedentedly terrifying pressure. This pressure was far greater than the Ho-E-Divine Bow and Divine Arrow from before. It was like some sort of terrifying power had suddenly awakened from the bow and arrow. "Take it." The Black King handed the brand new Ho-E-Divine Bow and Divine Arrow to Zhuowen. Zhuowen took over the Ho-E-Divine Bow and the two Ho-E-Divine Arrows. He took out an arrow and placed it on the bowstring. Instantly, Zhuowen sensed an extremely powerful and terrifying pressure surging over. He pulled the bowstring to a full moon and actually found it difficult to do so. An even more terrifying killing intent condensed within the Divine Arrow. In addition to the killing intent, Zhuowen also discovered a sharpness even more terrifying than the killing intent that filled the tip of the Divine Arrow. Whoosh! The Divine Arrow was shot out by Zhuowen like a streak of light towards the horizon. He could clearly see that wherever the Divine Arrow passed, space would shatter and the laws would be annihilated. The Divine Arrow fell extremely far away. The instant it hit the ground, it exploded loudly. The entire wasteland world trembled. The tremors became more and more terrifying. Countless cracks appeared on the ground. Zhuowen saw that in the distance. The terrifying explosion took the shape of an oval and spread out in all directions. Accompanying the explosion was a huge mushroom cloud that rose into the sky. It was extremely spectacular. The ground cracked open. Streams of lava rushed out of the ground like a wave, wreaking havoc in the wasteland world. Damn, the power of this Ho-E-Divine Arrow is actually so terrifying. Zhuowen was shocked. Before the golden crow blood on the surface of the Ho-E-Divine Arrow was cleaned, it could only injure an early-stage Heaven Ascension Master at most. But now, if the Ho-E-Divine Arrow was used at full power, it could instantly kill a mid-stage Heaven Ascension Master and seriously injure a late-stage Heaven Ascension Master. But the energy consumption is too terrifying. I'm about to be sucked dry. A trace of blood flowed out of the corner of Zhuowen's mouth. His footsteps were weak as he revealed a bitter smile. That arrow just now had drained almost 80% of his energy. The price of shooting that arrow was still very high. Kid, you really have guts. You used the full power of the Ho-E-Divine Arrow right from the start. The Ho-E-Divine Arrow is now in its complete state. Next time, you don't have to pull the bowstring to a full moon. Unless you're dealing with a terrifying expert like a late-stage Heaven Ascension Master. The Black King clicked his tongue in amazement as he crossed his arms. Zhuowen put away the scattered Ho-E-Divine Arrows and was extremely satisfied. The power of the Ho Divine arrow was very suitable for him now. Senior, can you tell me the location of the other 8 Divine arrows and the 3 ancestral witch corpses? Zhuowen looked at the Black King and asked. The Black King laughed as he stretched out his right hand and opened it in front of Zhuowen. A black jade floated above his palm. This black jade was very exquisite. Its surface was filled with patterns of dragons and phoenixes, and it emitted a mysterious aura. This black jade records the exact location of the other 8 Divine arrows. Moreover, these 8 Divine arrows are all in the primitive heavenly realm. Aren't you going to the primitive heavenly realm this time? You can collect them on the way. The Black King said as he handed the black jade to Zhuowen. Zhuowen took the black jade and checked it. He didn't say anything and raised his head to look at the Black King again. As for the 3 ancestral witch corpses, I can only give you some clues. I heard that there are 3 ancestral witch corpses hidden in the witch tribe. As for who they are, I don't know. If you want the 3 ancestral witch corpses, you can only enter the witch tribe to explore. However, the witch tribe is the largest tribe in the primitive heavenly realm. You have to be careful when you enter. The Black King reminded. Zhuowen was surprised. He didn't expect that the largest tribe in the primitive heavenly realm, the witch tribe, would hide 3 ancestral witch corpses. Senior, thank you for telling me. If there's nothing else, I think you should let me go to the primitive heavenly realm, right? Zhuowen cupped his hands and said, I say, little guy, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Can't you stay with me for a while? The Black King said unhappily when he saw that Zhuowen was in such a hurry to leave. Zhuowen was expressionless as he said indifferently, I really have something urgent to do, so I can't stay here for long. Please forgive me. The Black King shrugged and said, there's one last thing. After you finish this, I'll let you leave this worldlet. As he spoke, the Black King took out a glittering and translucent badge and handed it to Zhuowen. The surface of the badge was densely covered with lines, revealing a mysterious aura. What's this? Zhuowen took the badge in surprise and looked at the Black King in confusion. The Black King said in a low voice, this is the sky-reaching badge. It's a sign that you can enter the sky-reaching place. The 3 pure ones asked me to give it to you. We all know your strength. You are qualified to enter the sky-reaching place. The sky-reaching place, Zhuowen narrowed his eyes. It was not the first time that he had heard about the sky-reaching place. Ma Yuja had told him that it was the place where all the experts at the sky-reaching realm gathered in this starry sky. It was also the most advanced place in this starry sky. Chapter 32:10. Teleportation. Before accepting this badge, can you tell me something about the heaven accessing place? Since I'm qualified to enter the heaven accessing place, I need to know what it is like. Zhuowen waved the badge in front of the Black King and said calmly. The Black King grinned and said, as the name suggests, the heaven accessing place is a place where a group of experts at the level of heaven-reaching masters gather. It was the 3 pure ones who established the heaven accessing place. Of course, most of the old guys in the starry sky are practicing in seclusion in the heaven accessing place. They only have one purpose, which is to break through to the supreme realm of heaven. Zhuowen's eyes flickered. From the Black King, he knew that the real masters of heaven-reaching masters in the starry sky were all in the heaven accessing place. That is to say, as long as a practitioner reaches the level of heaven-reaching master, he can get this badge, right? Zhuowen asked. The Black King nodded and said, in the heaven accessing place, there are many masters of heaven-reaching masters from the Xianmi heavenly domain, the untainted heavenly domain, and the demon realm. It's a paradise for the strong. The ultimate purpose of the heaven accessing place is to fight against the cancer of the chaos in the dark of the starry sky. The chaos is the enemy of all the creatures in the starry sky. Everyone has the right to kill it. Then, the Black King turned to look at Zhuowen seriously and said, little guy, you're the first person in history to be awarded the badge by the 3 pure ones. Because you have the Pangu sacred body, you're a key figure in the fight against the chaos in the future. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes and said in a low voice, "Does everyone in the heaven-accessing place know that I'm practicing the Pangu, sacred body?" The Black King shook his head and said mockingly, "Now only the three pure ones and I know. And we won't spread it, because the heaven-accessing place is not a place of unity. There are many people with ulterior motives, and there are many factions. If people with ulterior motives know that you're practicing the Pangu sacred body, I don't know what crazy things they'll do. Don't worry. The three pure ones and I are keeping everything about you a secret. When you enter the heaven-accessing place, you'll know that it's a complicated place." Hearing this, Zhuowen nodded. He knew how powerful the Pangu sacred body was. If someone really harbored evil intentions, they would probably seize his body and take his Pangu sacred body for themselves. Moreover, Zhuowen did not trust the three pure ones and the three pure ones. Although the Black King and the three pure ones had not shown any malice, Zhuowen had been through a lot for so many years. He was not a simple sheep. He had never let his guard down. By the way, the location of the heaven-accessing place is a micro-world opened up in the hollow of the star battlefield. The specific location is in your badge. As long as you communicate with the badge with your divine thoughts, you can naturally perceive the map inside. Master badge, mastering badge. The master, insect master, of his master is master. Hearing this, Zhuowen communicated with the master badge with his divine thoughts. Sure enough, he sensed a complicated road map in it. However, Zhuowen did not care too much. He had too many secrets, and the heaven-accessing place was a place full of experts. If nothing special happened, he would not enter the heaven-accessing place. The Black King seemed to have seen through Zhuowen's thoughts. He grinned and said, "Little guy, let me tell you in advance. The most precious practicing resources in this starry sky are all in the heaven-accessing place. And I remember that there are a few old monsters in the heaven-accessing place who are interested in the wizard ancestor's corpse. Maybe there are clues about other wizard ancestors' corpses in the heaven-accessing place. If you really want to make rapid progress in a short time, the heaven-accessing place is the best place." Zhuowen looked at the Black King, who was smiling like a fox, and felt a little helpless. Although he knew that the Black King was leading him on, he was willing to do it. The wizard ancestor's corpse was too important for him. If there was really something in the heaven-accessing place, he had to enter the heaven-accessing place to try. "Now I'll send you to the untainted heavenly realm, and I can give you a small benefit. I'll send you directly to the clan where the first Ho Yi's holy arrow is located." The Black King laughed. "Where?" Zhuowen asked subconsciously. "The Devouring Clan. You know, at its peak, the Devouring Clan was comparable to the top 10 clans. I heard that there were 3 Ho Yi's holy arrows hidden in this clan. You must have mentioned it in the black jade I gave you." As the Black King spoke, his huge claws brushed over Zhuowen's head. Suddenly, a black vortex appeared above Zhuowen's head. "Wait, you'd better send me to the Phoenix people. Don't the Phoenix people also have 3 Ho Yi's holy arrows?" Alas! Before Zhuowen could finish his words, he was involuntarily sucked into the black vortex and disappeared completely. What did this little guy say just now? Did he say that he wanted to teleport to the Phoenix people? After Zhuowen disappeared, the Black King reacted. He patted his head and laughed. "Perhaps it was my illusion. I didn't make a mistake in teleporting. I'm sure it was like that." This was a golden grassland. On a high slope of the grassland, there was a huge rock. Zhuowen stood on the rock, gritting his teeth. Can the Black King be more unreliable? Why didn't he ask for my opinion before he teleported? Damn it. Zhuowen was a little annoyed as he looked around. He found this golden grassland strange to him. He knew that he was now in the untainted heavenly realm. Moreover, he was near the Devouring Clan's tribe. Before entering the untainted heavenly realm, Zhuowen had learned the general distribution of forces in the untainted heavenly realm from the saintess of the Phoenix people. The great desolate heaven realm was formed by various races, and these densely packed races were distributed in various parts of the heaven realm in the form of tribes. They occupied land and called themselves clans, forming their own territories. Of course, the tribes in the untainted heavenly realm weren't as simple and crude as those in the slaughtering heavenly realm. In the untainted heavenly realm, even the weakest tribe was much better than the strongest tribe in the slaughtering heavenly realm. The strong tribes, like the tribes of the untainted heavenly realm's 10 great clans, had strict security with many restrictions and formations. Their scale was even bigger than the Tao Palace in the Xian Mi heavenly realm. Zhuowen took out a map made of sheepskin, which he had obtained from the saintess of the Phoenix people, Zhuowen. This map recorded the general location of the untainted heavenly realm and the general distribution of the strong clans in the untainted heavenly realm. Zhuowen studied the map for a while, then put it away with a grimace. This map didn't record the location of the devouring clan's tribe. Zhuowen summoned the saintess of the Phoenix people from the great world. The saintess of the Phoenix people was still restrained by a strong force, which restricted her movements. As soon as the saintess of the Phoenix people appeared, her beautiful eyes glared at Zhuowen. However, she soon noticed the surroundings. She was surprised. Is this the untainted heavenly realm? Zhuowen, you're finally enlightened. You know how strong the Phoenix people are. That's why you brought me back to the untainted heavenly realm. Are you going to ask the Phoenix people for forgiveness? Then, the Phoenix people showed their arrogance, throwing a sidelong glance at Zhuowen. Chapter 32:11. Devouring Clan. Do you want me to show you the way to the Phoenix people and ask for their punishment? I'll give you a chance. The Phoenix people are... The beautiful eyes of the saintess of the Phoenix people were filled with arrogance. However, before she could finish, Zhuowen interrupted her. I know the location of the Phoenix people's tribe better than you do. It's marked on the map. Do I need you to tell me that? Zhuowen's voice was cold, his eyes unfriendly. The saintess of the Phoenix people was bewildered. She was enraged. Then why did you call me here? What does the other places have to do with me? And you're a human. You can't live long in the great desolate heavenly realm. If you want to live, you'd better go to the Phoenix people and ask for their punishment. Perhaps I can ask them to spare your lowly life. Whether I can survive in the great desolate heavenly realm or not, it's none of your business. Now, show me where the devouring clan's tribe is. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless, Zhuowen said with murderous intent in his eyes. Feeling the murderous intent in Zhuowen's eyes, the saintess of the Phoenix people shivered. Her eyes were filled with resentment. This Zhuowen didn't know what was good for him. Why didn't he go to the Phoenix people? Why did he go to the devouring clan? However, facing Zhuowen's murderous eyes, the saintess of the Phoenix people became dispirited. After a while, she knew the character of this damn human in front of her. This man always did what he said. He wasn't trying to deceive her. Because of this, she had suffered a lot at the beginning. You will regret it. The devouring clan's tribe is dozens of kilometers southeast. It's not far from here, said the Phoenix people coldly. Zhuowen swung his sleeve and retrieved the saintess of the Phoenix people into his great world. Then he flew to the southeast. However, as he advanced, Zhuowen's body began to change. His entire body began to be covered with pitch-black scales, and on the surface of these scales, there were imperceptible black vortexes. At this moment, Zhuowen had stimulated the devouring king's bloodline hidden in his clone, making him look more like a member of the devouring clan. Zhuowen kept flying in the southeast direction. When he reached the end of the Golden Prairie, he found a rocky area on the other side of the prairie. The area of this rocky area was very large, and huge rocks were randomly distributed in all directions. Surrounded by many rocks, Zhuowen saw a huge city standing in the middle of the rocky area. The area of this huge city was very large. In this huge city, there were many wide and ancient streets and thick and heavy buildings. The most eye-catching part of the huge city was a huge statue in the middle of the city. This huge statue was in the shape of a huge, exotic beast. Zhuowen was the most familiar with this strange beast. It was the complete form of the devouring king. Inside the giant city, figures covered in pitch-black scales walked on the streets. They looked similar to humans, but they had the special scales of the devouring clan, which proved that they weren't humans. When he was in the Xianmi heavenly territory, Zhuo knew that many races in the great desolate heavenly territory looked like humans when they weren't in their fighting form. There were so many races in the great desolate heavenly territory, including the devouring clan. Almost every adult member of the devouring clan had a body as big as a planet. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that they could cover the entire sky. Although a giant body could bring them tremendous power, it also brought them a disadvantage of not being able to move. When the humankind was separated in the prehistorical heavenly realm, the humankind was recognized as the most perfect form. Thus, many races in the great desolate heavenly territory had to imitate the human clan when they weren't in their fighting form. Of course, if there was a big war, those races would reveal their true forms and attack with all of their powers. This giant city was the devouring clan's base. The humanoid figures that Zhuowen saw were all members of the devouring clan. Zhuowen didn't hurry to enter the devouring clan's base. He quietly hid behind a massive rock and retracted his aura. At the moment he saw the giant city, he felt that the atmosphere wasn't right. The gate of the giant city was closed. The light of restrictions twinkled around the city. Moreover, the devouring clan in the city looked hurried. The atmosphere was tense. He knew that something terrible was about to happen. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Zhuowen could feel the intense vibrations from a far distance in front of the giant city. In the distance, smoke and dust filled the sky, and a black mass of troops was rapidly approaching the giant city. Attack the city? Zhuowen saw the army moving fast from a far distance. He knew why the devouring clan's base was so tense. Fortunately, he didn't rush to the city. Otherwise, the devouring clan would have considered him a spy. At that time, he wouldn't be able to explain himself. Since the rock Zhuowen was hiding behind was facing the city, and the devouring clan warriors in the city were focused on the army in front of them, no one had recognized Zhuowen when he appeared. At this moment, a middle-aged man with a pair of sharp eyes and curly scales on his face stood on the city wall like a bamboo pole, quietly watching the mighty army in the distance. This middle-aged man was the strongest expert of the devouring clan. He was also the devouring king of this generation. His name was Bingju. Bingju was at the late creator realm. With his devouring king bloodline, he could fight against a half-step creator realm expert. Zhuowen was hiding in the dark. Of course, he had noticed Bingju. His soul consciousness had scanned the city, so he knew that Bingju was the devouring king of the devouring clan. Zhuowen couldn't help but shake his head. The devouring clan was just a small clan in the great desolate heavenly domain. Even the devouring king, the strongest expert of the clan, was just a creator realm expert. Moreover, Zhuowen's soul consciousness had scanned the city. The number of the devouring clan warriors in the city who had reached the third step of Dao realm was less than the number of one hand. With Zhuowen's current competence, destroying the city of the devouring clan was just a piece of cake. However, Zhuowen didn't do that. He had no reason to do so. He came to the devouring clan for the 3 divine arrows. If the devouring clan was so weak, it shouldn't be a problem for him to take the 3 divine arrows. And now, he didn't take action because he wanted to observe the situation of the devouring clan. No matter what, he had the devouring king bloodline. If the devouring clan didn't disappoint him, Zhuowen didn't mind giving them a hand. Bingju squinted, gazing at the army in the distance with a solemn face. Standing behind Bingju were the left and right protectors of the devouring clan. They were the great experts of the devouring clan, second only to Bingju. Both of them were at the middle stage of the creator realm. The left protector was an old man with a long white beard. The right protector was much younger. He looked like he was in his 20s. His eyes were scarlet, and his body emitted a brutal aura. The Divine Sparrow clan is getting more and more out of hand. We've already told them that the Divine Arrow was taken away by the Sacred Marten clan and the Fire Elephant clan many years ago, Yet they still say that we're lying and insist that the arrow is still in our clan. The young Right Protector's scarlet eyes flickered continuously. They were filled with dread and fear. The Left Protector's eyes were spitting fire. He said in a low voice, "Patriarch, the Divine Sparrow clan is riding on our heads. If we still tolerate them, where will the devouring clan's face go?" Bing Ju's eyes twinkled. He nodded and said, "Left Protector, you're right. The Divine Sparrow clan has gone too far." Bang. Chapter 32:12. Ju, being the Left Protector, spat out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying. He looked at Ju Bing, who was standing on the city wall with a cold face. He didn't know why Ju Bing would attack him. The moment Ju Bing attacked the Left Protector, the Right Protector dashed out like a ghost, laughing evilly like a night owl. The Left Protector's right foot stomped in the air. A violent aura gushed out, forcibly stabilizing his body. At this moment, the Right Protector dashed in front of the Left Protector. His hands turned into claws as he dashed toward the Left Protector. The Left Protector clenched his hands into palms and suddenly blasted out, clashing with the Right Protector. Violent energy waves spread out in all directions like waves. "Patriarch, Right Protector, what is the meaning of this?" The Left Protector retreated as he fought. His eyes were filled with confusion. He didn't know why Ju Bing and the Right Protector suddenly attacked him. The Devouring Clan was facing the Divine Sparrow Clan's invasion. Why did Ju Bing and the Right Protector attack him? Puff. The Left Protector was severely injured by Ju Bing, so he wasn't the Right Protector's match. The Left Protector knew that if he continued to fight, he wouldn't have a good ending. He had to run away. The Left Protector faced the sky and roared. His body began to expand as he revealed his true form. He wanted to escape from the city. Ju Bing coldly looked at the Left Protector, who had revealed his true form. He sneered. He took a step forward, and a black scepter appeared in his hand. Ju Bing landed on the Left Protector and smashed the scepter in his hand. The black scepter emitted a crystal-like light that covered the Left Protector's body. Instantly, the Left Protector, who had turned into a giant devourer, screamed and turned back into his human form. Furthermore, rings of black energy light surrounded the Left Protector's body at an unknown time, imprisoning his entire body. Left Protector, you can't challenge the Patriarch's authority. Now you've learned your lesson. The Right Protector looked at the black scepter in Ju Bing's hand with fear. He then carried the Left Protector and jumped onto the city wall, standing behind Ju Bing. This black scepter was the symbol of the authority of the chief of the Devouring Clan. This scepter had a unique suppressive effect on the members of the Devouring Clan. Just now, the Left Protector had been completely suppressed by the power of the scepter. He didn't even have the strength to resist. "Patriarch, what do you mean by this? Why are you using arbitration on me?" The Left Protector looked at the scepter in Bing Ju's hand and roared unwillingly. "Left Protector, do you still not understand? Using arbitration on you is because you are guilty." Ice Extreme muttered to himself as he looked at the approaching Divine Sparrow tribe. "What do you mean?" The Left Protector frowned and asked. "When Bloodscale was still in power, you were his most loyal dog. Later on, I forced Bloodscale out of the Devouring Clan. You submitted to me, but you weren't sincere. You didn't submit to me as the new chief," said Bing Ju faintly. The Left Protector's expression changed slightly. She lowered her head and said, "Patriarch, I've never been disloyal to you." "Oh, you've never been disloyal to me? Then you should be honest with me unconditionally. When our Devouring Clan was at its peak, we had 3 Ho-E Divine arrows. Later on, when our clan declined, the Sacred Marten Clan and the Fire Elephant Clan took 1 Ho-E Divine arrow. If I remember correctly, the last Ho-E Divine arrow was kept by Bloodscale, and you are his most trusted dog. I think you know where the last Ho-E Divine arrow is kept better than me, right? Bloodscale won't take it away. He will only give it to you to keep." Bing Ju stroked the scepter in his hand. His voice was terrifyingly calm. The Left Protector's expression changed drastically. He turned his head and said coldly, "Patriarch, I don't understand what you mean, but you using arbitration on your fellow clansmen, especially when our clan is in a life-or-death situation. Don't you feel ashamed? Bing Ju sneered and said, a life-or-death situation? Haha, you think too much. The Divine Sparrow clan only wants the Divine Arrow, and you are the only one who knows its whereabouts. As long as you tell us the whereabouts of the Divine Arrow, the danger will be gone. If you don't tell us, you will bring harm to the entire Devouring clan. Bing Ju's voice was cold as he stood in front of the Left Protector, looking down at him. The Left Protector looked at Bing Ju and mocked himself. Bing Ju, from the beginning, you didn't want to fight against the Divine Sparrow clan. You want to give them the Divine Arrow to protect yourself, right? To be honest, you and Bloodscale are too far apart. If Master Bloodscale were here, even if we have the Divine Arrow, he would lead his clansmen to fight to the death to protect the dignity of the Devouring clan. And you have abandoned the dignity of the Devouring clan. You act like a coward, compromising for the greater good. It's really ugly. Bing Ju's face was ferocious. He slapped the Left Protector to the ground and said coldly, don't mention the name Bloodscale in front of me. That trash is dead. Nothing is left of him now. Left Protector, I will give you one last chance. If you tell us the whereabouts of the Divine Arrow, I will spare your life and let you continue to be a protector. The Left Protector spat and turned his head away. He didn't even look at Bing Ju. All right, if you don't tell us, don't blame me for giving you to the Divine Sparrow clan. I think the Divine Sparrow clan has many ways to make you talk. Bing Ju snorted and ignored the Left Protector. He looked down at the city gate. At this moment, the Divine Sparrow clan's army had arrived at the city gate. The leader of the army was a young man with red lips and white teeth. He was riding a giant horse that was as tall as a man. The young man looked exactly like a human. The only difference was that he had a red mark on his forehead. The Divine Sparrow clan's humanoid form was the closest to the human race. The only difference was the red mark on their forehead. This young man was the commander of the Divine Sparrow clan's army. He was also one of the 3 great experts of the Divine Sparrow clan. His name was Kei-Chi. Kei-Chi was much stronger than Bing Ju. He was an expert at the early stage of the Creator Realm. To put it bluntly, Kei-Chi alone could challenge the entire Devouring clan. Kei-Chi raised his head and looked at Bing Ju on the city wall. He arched his brows and said, Bing Ju, what do you think? I just want a Divine Arrow. As long as you give it to me, I won't make things difficult for your Devouring clan. Bing Ju's face was full of respect. He cupped his hands at Kei-Chi and said, Master Kei-Chi, our Devouring clan does have one more Divine Arrow. However, I don't know where it is. Kei-Chi's face turned ugly. A terrifying aura swept out. He said coldly, Bing Ju, are you playing with me? You should know that your little Devouring clan can't bear the wrath of our Divine Sparrow clan. Today, I just need to give an order, and your Devouring clan will become history. Bing Ju hurriedly lifted the Left Protector and said, Master Kei-Chi, please calm down. Although I don't know, the Left Protector knows. He used to be Bloodscale's loyal dog, and the Divine Arrow was kept by Bloodscale. Only the Left Protector knows about the Divine Arrow. I'm going to give it to you. I think that with your wisdom, you can get the information from the Left Protector. Oh, the Left Protector is Yulu, who used to be with Bloodscale, right? Since you used to be with Bloodscale, you should know the Divine Arrow better than anyone else. Chapter 32:13. One move, tell me. Where's the Divine Arrow? I can still spare your life. Kei-Chi rode his big horse, looking down at Left Protector Yulu, who had fallen under the horse's feet. Yulu was tough. He fell down with cuts and bruises all over his body, but he didn't utter a sound. Magpie Rise narrowed his eyes and suddenly pulled the reins. The huge horse lifted its front hooves and fiercely stepped on Yulu's body. Yulu was so angry that his eyes cracked. He screamed in pain, vomiting blood. His bones cracked and shattered. Are you going to tell me or not? Kei-Chi asked coldly. Unfortunately, Yulu didn't utter a word as if he hadn't heard Kei-Chi. Kei-Chi frowned. as he was surprised by Yu Lu's stubbornness. He raised his right hand, and an armored soldier walked out from behind him. "Take him away and guard him well. When I get back, I will interrogate him," Kei-Chi said indifferently. The soldier clasped his fists at Kei-Chi, then carried Yu Lu, who was almost paralyzed, on his shoulder, walking to the crowd behind him. Kei-Chi didn't even look at Yu Lu. He lifted his head, looking at Bing-Ju, who was still standing on the city wall. Bing-Ju also noticed Kei-Chi's gaze. He showed a slightly flattering smile and said, "Master Kei-Chi, I've already handed this person over to you. You only need to go back and interrogate Yu Lu, and you will be able to get information about Ho Yi's divine arrow. I think we should call it quits here. I will pretend that nothing happened today." In the big city, the members of the Devouring clan felt humiliated when they saw Bing-Ju trying to please Kei-Chi. Although the Devouring clan had declined, they still had their pride and dignity. And now, their patriarch had surrendered to Kei-Chi of the Divine Sparrow clan. To them, it was a big humiliation. However, no one dared to say anything. Everybody had seen Yu Lu's end. Even the protector was captured easily, let alone the ordinary members. Kei-Chi smiled mockingly. "Patriarch Bing-Ju, I've come to your Devouring clan from thousands of miles away. You don't want to let me in. It's not good, right? You should invite me in for a drink before I leave." Bing-Ju's expression changed. How could he not understand the meaning behind Yi Chio's words? According to Magpie Rise, it was impossible for Bing-Ju to take the initiative to open the city gate. He knew very well that once the city gates were opened, what he would attract would not be guests, but eternal damnation. "Haha, Master Kei-Chi must be joking. It's not convenient for me today. If Master Kei-Chi comes to visit another day, Bing-Ju will definitely entertain you with great hospitality." Bing-Ju declined politely. Kei-Chi's face turned cold as he said darkly, "It seems that Patriarch Bing-Ju is not giving me any face. Since you don't want to give me face, then I won't give you face today either. Brothers, attack. Take down the lair of the Devouring clan. We will reward you handsomely." Magpie Rise gave the order, and immediately the black mass of the army behind him let out a deafening roar. The Divine Sparrow clan's army revealed their true forms one by one. In an instant, golden light shone everywhere. The true form of the Divine Sparrow tribe was a divine sparrow that was half the size of a human. These divine sparrows were extremely terrifying in terms of both speed and attack power. Bing-Ju grimaced. He hurried to shout, asking his clansmen in the city to prepare for the battle. The members of the Devouring clan also revealed their true forms, guarding the city walls to prevent the Divine Sparrow clan's army from breaking through. The barriers and restrictions of the city were too crude. They couldn't resist for more than 15 minutes before the Divine Sparrow clan's army broke through them. Then, the Divine Sparrow clan's army and the Devouring clan's army engaged in a fierce battle. The entire city was filled with earth-shaking roars and the smell of smoke. Behind the giant city, in the rocky region, Zhuan observed the battle in the giant city from behind a rock, his brows slightly furrowed. He could see that the Divine Sparrow clan was much stronger than the Devouring clan. In less than 2 hours, the Divine Sparrow clan's army would take down the city. "Bing-Ju, get down here and fight." Gold light flashed around Kei-Chi like lightning. He held the golden spear in his hand, but he didn't reveal his true form. In his eyes, dealing with a weak creator like Bing-Ju, he didn't need to use his true form. Bing-Ju grimaced. He hadn't thought that things would escalate to this point. If he had known that Kei-Chi would attack the city, he would never have handed over Yu Lu. No matter what, Yu Lu was an expert of the Devouring clan, second only to him. If he dealt with Kei-Chi now, he would be able to contribute. "Remnant blood, come with me to deal with Kei-Chi." Bing-Ju called the right custodian. He took a step forward, dashing toward Kei-Chi. As soon as Bing-Ju appeared, he revealed his true form, dashing toward Kei-Chi like a meteor. The right custodian frowned, his eyes filled with reluctance. Kei-Chi was much stronger than them. Even if he joined hands with Bing-Ju, they didn't have a high chance of winning. However, he had to obey Bing-Ju's order. Thus, he had to bite the bullet. "Huh, Good. You two trash dare to fight with me. Kei-Chi sneered, wielding the spear in his hand. The blazing golden light rose like the sun. Instantly, the sky was filled with golden spear shadows. Those spear shadows were so dazzling that they even covered the radiance of the sun in the sky. Bang! 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 When the spear shadows in the sky collided with Bing-Ju and remnant blood, a terrifying shockwave spread out. Bing-Ju spurted out a mouthful of blood flying backward. Blood mist burst out from his body, making him look extremely miserable. The most miserable one was remnant blood. In the endless spear shadows, he couldn't resist for a long time. Immediately, those blazing spear shadows crushed him into powder, killing him on the spot. In the giant city, many clansmen of the Devouring clan saw that the Patriarch and the Right Custodian were killed by Kei-Chi in just one move. All of them were in despair. They knew that once Bing-Ju was killed, they wouldn't be able to defend their giant city. At that time, they would have to face the extermination of their clan. Bing-Ju died. Kei-Chi burst out laughing. His right hand formed a palm, striking the end of the spear. The blazing golden spear spun rapidly, shooting out like an unparalleled golden light. It was like a rainbow piercing the sun, swift and fierce. Bing-Ju saw the spear dashing toward him, feeling a strong threat of death. He roared and threw the black scepter in his hand. At the same time, he crazily burned his blood essence, turning into a blood line, running toward the back of the giant city. The long spear was blocked by the scepter, but it only lasted for a few breaths before the scepter shattered into powder. However, in that short time, Bing-Ju had already disappeared from the giant city. The Patriarch ran away. The clansmen in the giant city were in an uproar. They had never thought that their Patriarch, Bing-Ju, would run away at the critical moment to save his life. Kei-Chi snorted, retrieving his spear. His cold eyes looked at Bing-Ju's retreating figure. He knew that Bing-Ju was burning his blood essence. His speed was fast, and he wasn't sure if he could catch up with him. He had to give up. However, shortly after, Kei-Chi was surprised to see that Bing-Ju's figure, which was about to leave the rocky area behind the giant city, suddenly froze in the air. Then, Bing-Ju screeched, his giant body flying backward toward the giant city. It seemed that there was a force in the rocky area that stopped Bing-Ju and pushed him back. Boom! Chapter 32:14. Kei-Chi's Deathwind Bing-Ju fell to the ground, dying. Both the Devouring clan in the city and the Divine Sparrow clan that was attacking the city halted their actions. Surprisingly, they all gazed at Bing-Ju. Right after that, they followed Bing-Ju's line of sight, gazing at the massive rocky area behind the city. They saw a slender figure slowly walking out of the rocky area. The figure was thin, but he was as straight as a pine tree. Kei-Chi was riding on a massive horse, holding the golden divine spear. He also noticed the figure walking toward him, frowning, because he noticed that this figure was a young man who didn't seem very old, and the young man's face was densely covered with gloomy and shiny ink-colored scales. Devouring clan? Since when did the Devouring clan have such an expert? At the moment Kei-Chi saw the figure, he could feel the aura of the Devouring clan from him. What scared Kei-Chi more was that this man could stop Bing-Ju, who had burned his blood essence. Moreover, he could send Bing-Ju back with one strike. This man's fighting competence was above Bing-Ju's. He's one of our clansmen. Many members of the Devouring clan in the city were astounded. They could feel the aura of the Devouring clan from this man, but they didn't recognize him. They had never seen him before. Apparently, he didn't belong to the Devouring clan. Who are you? Why are you stopping me? Bing-Ju glared at the young man, walking toward him. Bing-Ju had returned to his human form. Maintaining his giant body consumed a lot of energy. Currently, Bing-Ju was severely wounded. Of course, he couldn't maintain his human form. The young man walking toward him was Zhuowen. Zhuowen had wanted to stop Bing-Ju from leaving the city by burning his essence blood. He had even given Bing-Ju a heavy blow, almost crippling him. Zhuowen arrived in front of Bing-Ju and stomped on his head. A powerful force exploded out, and Bing Ju's head was stomped deep into the ground. If you scream again, I'll kill you. Zhuan's voice was cold and indifferent, but it carried an unquestionable dignity. Bing Ju's eyes were filled with shock and anger, but he did not dare to make sound. The young man in front of him was far stronger than him. Moreover, he could feel the killing intent in Zhuan's eyes. He knew very well that if he really said anything, this person might really kill him. All members of the devouring clan in the giant city kept quiet out of fear. The joy in their eyes was replaced by fear. They had thought that this stranger from the ground clan would come and help them, but they hadn't expected that he would trample their ground clan leader under his feet. Although Bing Ju had abandoned them and run away alone, the devouring clan's members had a deep resentment. However, Bing Ju was still their patriarch. Now that their patriarch was being humiliated, it was equivalent to slapping their faces. However, Keiichi heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Although he could not see through the young man in front of him, he knew that the young man's strength was above Bing Ju's. He naturally hoped that such an expert would not be his enemy. And now, this man had stepped on Bing Ju as soon as he arrived. It meant that he wasn't on the devouring clan side. Haha, my friend, thank you for helping me stop Bing Ju. I'm Keiichi of the Divine Sparrow Clan. Now give Bing Ju to me. Magpie Rise laughed heartily as he slowly walked towards Zhuan on his huge horse. His expression was filled with arrogance. In his opinion, after this person heard about the Divine Sparrow Clan, he would be afraid. This made Keiichi even more arrogant. He concluded that this person did not dare to be arrogant in front of him. Keiichi stopped not far from Zhuan. His divine spear pointed at Bing Ju, who was under Zhuan's feet, and the corners of his mouth curved into a proud smile. Who do you think you are? In the Divine Sparrow Clan, who do you think you are? If you don't want to be annihilated, disappear from my sight now. Otherwise, I will wash your Divine Sparrow Clan's army with blood. Zhuan slowly lifted his head, indifferently looking at Keiichi on his giant horse. His eyes were indifferent, as if he was looking in it. Seeing Zhuan's eyes, Keiichi's eyelids twitched. He was enraged. Isn't this guy a bit too arrogant? He actually dares to say such disgraceful words. What's with that look? Does he see me as an ant? Is he looking down on me? And this guy wants me to retreat. If I don't retreat, he will wipe out the entire Divine Sparrow Clan's army. Where did this guy get his confidence from? Where did he get his arrogance from? Huh, just you? You want to wipe us all out? Keiichi laughed out loud. Then, the entire Divine Sparrow Clan's army roared with laughter, their faces full of mockery. The members of the Devouring Clan in the giant city shook their heads and smiled bitterly. At first, they thought that this domineering comrade of theirs would be an awesome existence. However, they did not expect him to be just an arrogant guy who liked to brag. Bing Ju, who was under Zhuan's feet, sneered silently. Not only did this person stop him, but he also stepped on him, completely cutting off his path of survival. Bing Ju could not wait to see this person die in Keiichi's hands. Are you done laughing? If you are, you can get lost. Zhuan's eyes were calm as he looked indifferently at Keiichi, who was still laughing on the giant horse. His voice was like an ancient well, full of calmness. Keiichi's laughter died down. He coldly looked at Zhuan and said, "You're really not afraid of death. Now, I'll give you a chance. Tell me your name. At least let me know who the person I'm about to kill is. I don't need to know someone's name to kill, because in my eyes, you're already a dead man. Why should I know a dead man's name?" Zhuan's voice was calm as he stomped down with his right foot, causing Bing Ju's head to be embedded into the ground as he slowly walked towards Magpie Rise. Very good. You're very good. Today, I'll let you know what despair is. Keiichi was so angry that he laughed. He suddenly pulled the reins, and the giant horse's hooves stomped on the ground, whistling like a gust of wind. Keiichi danced with the divine spear in his hand. Spear shadows rose like the sun, emitting an endless golden light. In an instant, the golden light enveloped Zhuan's entire body. Die. The moment the golden light enveloped Zhuan, Keiichi had already arrived in front of Zhuan. His right hand that was holding the spear fiercely spun, and the golden spear violently spun towards Zhuowen's vital points. Bang! An ancient and vicissitude power exploded from the countless golden lights. Then, the golden lights exploded one after another. Then, a figure rushed out like a ghost and rushed in front of the giant horse. Boom! This figure was Zhuowen. His body was emitting a sparkling light. He threw a punch at the giant horse's chest. The terrifying power exploded, and the giant horse's chest exploded into a bloody mist. Then, the giant horse looked up to the sky and cried out. Its huge body seemed to be unable to withstand the terrifying power and split into pieces, bursting into a bloody mist. Bang! The moment the giant horse exploded, Keiichi's pupil shrank. He kicked his legs in the air, wanting to retreat. Unfortunately, Zhuowen arrived first. He didn't know when, but he rushed in front of Keiichi and also threw a punch. Keiichi roared, and the divine spear in his hand suddenly swept out. The terrifying spear's shadows exploded and swept toward Zhuowen. Unfortunately, Zhuowen was too terrifying. In front of Zhuowen's fist, the spear's shadows were like paper tigers and shattered into nothingness. After Zhuowen's fist broke through all obstacles, it finally smashed into Keiichi's chest. Keiichi spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. In the process of flying, dazzling cracks appeared on Keiichi's body. The moment Magpie Rise landed heavily on the ground, countless cracks appeared on the ground. Chapter 32:15. Open the door. The place was terrifyingly silent. Many pairs of eyes gazed at Keiichi, who was now smashed into pieces on the ground. One strike. With just one move, Magpie Rise, who was at the level of a creation master, was destroyed right in front of their eyes. After pulling themselves together, both the Devouring Clan and the Divine Sparrow Clan shivered, looking at Zhuowen in fear. Bingju struggled to lift his head from the ground. When he saw this, his pupils shrank to the size of needles, as if he had just seen a ghost. His face was filled with fear. Earlier, Keiichi had defeated him in one strike. And now, Keiichi had been killed in one strike. As long as he had a brain, he knew how big the gap between him and this young man was. I must win this precursor's favor. Bingju pulled himself together. He had a plan. He had sensed the unique aura of the Devouring Clan from this young man. Moreover, this man had killed Keiichi to save the Devouring Clan. Bingju knew that he had to curry favor with such a great expert. Zhuowen didn't even look at Keiichi's smashed body. He slowly walked toward the Devouring Clan city. His clear voice arose. I'll give you a chance. Get lost. Don't force me to kill you all. You have guts. You dare to kill our Divine Sparrow Clan's Master Keiichi. Your Devouring Clan is finished. Our Divine Sparrow Clan will exterminate your Devouring Clan. A young Divine Sparrow race clansman glared at Zhuowen and said harshly. However, this man was cunning. While he was talking, he retreated. He didn't have the guts to attack Zhuowen. If you say so, come here and take revenge for your master Keiichi. Zhuowen's voice was cold. Before he could finish, he flicked his finger. A powerful energy slashed the air like a saber. The young Divine Sparrow Clan warrior hadn't reacted yet. The energy quietly entered his glabella. Boom! The young Divine Sparrow Clan warrior didn't utter a sound. His head exploded, and he fell dead. Everybody, join hands to kill him. He's just one man. We have 1,000 elites. No matter how strong he is, how could he be our enemy? A general of the Divine Sparrow race, who was clad in golden armor, shouted orders. This general was second only to Keiichi in terms of strength and authority in the Divine Sparrow Clan's army. His name was Rue Gu, and he was a half-step creation lord. Magpie Rise had fallen, and now he had become the highest commander of the army. As soon as Rue Gu gave his order, almost 1,000 elite warriors of the Divine Sparrow Clan gave up attacking the city of the Devouring Clan. They transformed into their true forms and stormed toward Zhuowen. After the Divine Sparrow Clan members revealed their true forms, they were like scorching suns, their entire bodies emitting golden flames. This made Zhuowen think of the Golden Crow. This divine sparrow clan should have a portion of the Golden Crow's bloodline. Otherwise, their bodies would not be so similar to the Golden Crow. Countless earth divine sparrows flew through the air, exuding golden flames. The temperature of the air around them skyrocketed, reaching a terrifyingly high temperature. Even the air and the ground began to crack open from the high temperatures. It's over. Many members of the devouring clan in the big city looked desperate. The strength of this unfamiliar ground tribe member was truly terrifying. However, they didn't think that this ground tribe member would be able to contend against the encirclement of so many divine sparrow tribe soldiers. Since this person couldn't contend against them, the only possibility was to escape. After this ground tribe member escaped, the divine sparrow clan would definitely annihilate the entire devouring clan. At that time, they would face the calamity of extermination. Bingju hurriedly hid behind a rock. His injuries were too severe. Otherwise, he would have used this opportunity to escape. He also didn't think that this person could survive the encirclement of the divine sparrow tribe soldiers. Facing almost 1,000 divine sparrow tribe soldiers, Zhuan's lips curled into a mocking smile. He waved his sleeve, and 3 sword lights shot out from his great world. They were the Thunder Fire Sword, the Death Sacrifice Sword, and the Blood Immortal Sword. During this period of time, the 3 divine swords had been cultivating in seclusion in the macro world. They finally came out of seclusion recently. After coming out of seclusion, the 3 divine swords had made great progress. Among them, the Thunder Fire Sword had improved the most. It had advanced to the early stage of the Heaven Pass grade. The Death Sacrifice Sword and the Blood Immortal Sword were also doing well. They had both reached the peak of the creation grade. Xiaohei, I'll leave these divine sparrow tribe soldiers to you. I think you'll have no problem with that, right? Zhuan asked with a faint smile. Xiaohei looked at him with disdain. They're just a bunch of trash. The strongest among them is only a half-step creator. This formation is an insult to us. After saying that, Xiaohei took the Death Sacrifice Sword and the Blood Immortal Sword and turned into 3 streaks of light as they shot out. However, Xiaohei also knew what Zhuan meant. Zhuan didn't want to deal with these small fries. Therefore, the 3 divine swords attacked with Zhuan as the center. Zhuan ignored the divine sparrow tribe soldiers and slowly walked toward the huge city. The 3 divine swords turned into sword lights and danced in the air like illusions. The divine sparrow tribe soldiers were crushed by the 3 divine swords as if they were vegetables. Corpses fell from the sky like rain. In a short while, hundreds of divine sparrow tribe soldiers had died. The remaining divine sparrow tribe soldiers were terrified. They weren't stupid and could naturally see that they were no match for this young man in front of them. Rui Ge was even more stunned. He trembled as he looked at the 3 divine swords that were massacring the divine sparrow tribe soldiers. He could no longer hide the fear in his eyes. This person was too terrifying. He had only summoned 3 divine swords, but they had been cleanly dealt with by the divine sparrow tribe soldiers. The divine sparrow tribe soldiers scattered and began to flee. It was a complete mess. Once the divine sparrow tribe soldiers were in chaos, there were even more openings. The speed at which the 3 divine swords killed the divine sparrow tribe soldiers became even faster. When Zhuan arrived in front of the huge city gates, the divine sparrow tribe soldiers had become a pile of bones. Rui Ge kept retreating. He grabbed the left guardian Yu Lu and quickly fled into the distance. Unfortunately, Rui Ge didn't get far before a flash of lightning and fire caught up to him. His entire body was pierced and torn to pieces. The moment Rui Ge was killed, the Thunder Fire Sword carried Yu Lu, who was on the verge of death, to Zhuan's side. Zhuan glanced at Yu Lu and took out a healing elixir from his great world. He handed it to Yu Lu and said, "Swallow it." Yu Lu swallowed the elixir without hesitation. He knew very well that the young man in front of him was too powerful. He had single-handedly annihilated the divine sparrow tribe army. How powerful must he be to be able to do that? In front of this person, he was just an ant. If this person wanted to harm him, he didn't have to use such a method. After swallowing the elixir, Yulu's face instantly became rosy, and his body was filled with energy. Yulu stood up again, and his face was filled with disbelief and surprise. He looked at Zhuowen and immediately cupped his hands in thanks. "Thank you for saving my life, Senior." Yulu knew very well that a divine elixir with such miraculous effects was at least a Genesis-grade healing elixir. Such a divine elixir was a precious item that was priceless in the primitive heaven domain. Even the Devouring clan didn't have such a divine elixir. However, the mysterious young man in front of him had casually given it to him. This meant that he didn't care about such a divine elixir at all. He was definitely an extremely rich and powerful guy. Mysterious, powerful, and extremely rich. At this moment, the young man in front of him had already become a peerless expert in Yulu's eyes. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to take out such a precious divine elixir so casually. Chapter 32:16. Bing Ju's unwillingness voice wasn't loud, but it was like the heavens' prestige. His voice boomed in the sky above the big city, shaking the heads of the Devouring clan in the city. Yulu stood respectfully behind Zhuowen. He didn't say anything, but his heart wasn't calm like a stormy sea. The pressure contained in Zhuowen's voice just now was too terrifying. He even had an impulse to kneel on the ground and prostrate in worship. Creak, creak. As soon as Zhuowen finished talking, the gate of the big city opened. Zhuowen took Yulu and walked into the big city. They saw the members of the Devouring clan standing on both sides of the road with their heads bowed, their faces fearful and respectful. Not long after Zhuowen Gang entered the giant city, he heard the sound of hurried footsteps behind him. A figure walked to Zhuowen and kneeled in front of Zhuowen, speaking with a flattering tone. "I'm Bing Ju, the chief of the Devouring clan. Thank you for saving my people, precursor." Bing Ju represents my people to thank you for saving our lives. Bing Ju knelt in front of Zhuowen, his eyes gazing at Zhuowen with passion and flattery. Left custodian Yulu stood quietly behind Zhuowen, gazing at Bing Ju in front of him. His eyes sparkled with a gleam of disgust. He wanted to remind Zhuowen about Bing Ju's behavior. However, he didn't seem to have any relationship with Zhuowen, so he wasn't sure if he would listen to him. Thinking of this, Yulu swallowed the words that he was about to say. Zhuowen did not stop and walked straight to Bing Ju. He lifted his leg and kicked Bing Ju's chest. Bing Ju let out a muffled groan as he was sent flying, spitting out a mouthful of blood, his face extremely pale. Bing Ju's eyes were filled with disbelief. He stared at Zhuowen, not knowing why the latter had kicked him away. What was the meaning of this? Seeing Zhuowen send extreme, ice flying with a kick, Yulu, who was following behind Zhuowen, was secretly delighted. The other clansmen also felt satisfied in their hearts. What Bing Ju had done before had already caused the people to lose faith in him. It was just that Bing Ju was too strong, so they didn't dare to refute him. Zhuowen slowly walked in front of Bing Ju and looked down at him. He said indifferently, "You're called Bing Ju, the chief of the Devouring clan?" Bing Ju's heart was filled with resentment, but the strength of the person in front of him was too terrifying. He could only pretend to be a grandson and respectfully stood up, wanting to reply. "Did I allow you to stand up?" Zhuowen's voice was cold. Bing Ju's body stiffened, his eyes burning with anger. However, he had to kneel down and say, "Sir, I'm Bing Ju, the chief of the Devouring clan. What can I do for you?" "Do you know Bloodscale?" Zhuowen asked casually. Bing Ju's pupils shrank as he had a bad premonition. He braced himself and said, "I know him. Bloodscale was the previous chief of our Devouring clan." However, Bloodscale was a tyrant. During his reign, he had slaughtered our clansmen as he wished. He didn't show any mercy. I couldn't stand such a tyrant. I stood up and fought against him. In the end, I defeated Bloodscale and drove Bloodscale out of the clan. As soon as Bing Ju finished, Yulu, who was standing behind Zhuowen, couldn't hold it anymore. He said coldly, "Bing Ju, you're so shameless. That year, Bloodscale treated you as his brother. You ambushed him when he wasn't paying attention. Eventually, Master Bloodscale got hurt badly and had to leave the clan. If Master Bloodscale were here, he wouldn't be like you. When the clan was in danger, he wouldn't run away alone. Bing Ju's eyes were dark. He glanced at Yulu and then said to Zhuowen, "Sir, Yulu is a traitor. He's talking nonsense. You saw it. He was in the Divine Sparrow Clan's army. He's a spy of the Divine Sparrow Clan. His words are bullsh asterisk T. You can't trust him. Bullsh asterisk T. You're the one who's talking nonsense." Yulu couldn't help but curse. "Sir, you see, Yulu is afraid. A traitor like him will be a disaster if you keep him alive. I'm going to help you deal with him." As Bing Ju spoke, he suddenly jumped up and pounced towards Yulu. Zhuowen's eyes were cold. Bing Ju had guts. At this moment, he still dared to take action. Zhuowen stretched out his right hand and blocked in front of Yulu. However, he soon realized that he was wrong. The moment he protected Yulu, Bing Ju turned around and fled in the opposite direction at an extremely fast speed. However, Bing Ju didn't get far before his chest was pierced by a ray of light. Then, he fell heavily to the ground. The moment Bing Ju fell to the ground, everyone saw that a divine sword that was flickering with lightning and fire energy had pierced through Bing Ju's chest and nailed him to the ground. Xiao Hei sat on the hilt of the sword and crossed her little paws. She laughed carelessly and said, "How dare you run away in front of Master Long? You're just showing off in front of an expert." Zhuo nodded slightly at Xiao Hei and walked slowly to Bing Ju. Blood flowed out of Bing Ju's mouth. The violent lightning and fire energy continued to corrode his body. He knew that he didn't have long to live. "Who are you? What's your relationship with Bloodscale?" Bing Ju's eyes were filled with unwillingness. He roared in a low voice and glared at Zhuowen. Before he died, he had to figure out the relationship between this person and Xuelin. Otherwise, he would die without knowing the reason behind it. "Bloodscale is my good friend. I heard about you from him. I heard that you used a despicable method to ambush him. In the end, you injured him severely and drove him out of the Devouring Clan. And from the moment you abandoned the city and ran away, I know that you're not a good person. A guy like you deserves to die." Zhuowen stopped in front of Bing Ju and looked down at him. Speaking of which, Bloodscale was the first Devouring King that Zhuowen had met. When they were in the 8 heavens, Zhuowen had rescued Devouring King from a seal. Later, Devouring King had become his servant and had done many things for him. He had always been loyal and devoted. However, it was a pity that Bloodscale was unlucky when they had to deal with the Green-Hair Dry Corpse land. The Green-Hair Dry Corpse had used him as a scapegoat and killed him in the sealed land on Earth. At that time, the 9-floor tower was opened and Easter Emperor Tai was released. He began to unify the 8 heavens and called them the Monster Territory. When Bloodscale was still alive, he had told Zhuowen about his origin. Zhuowen knew that Bing Ju had ambushed Bloodscale in the Devouring Clan and exiled Bloodscale. He was now the new chief of the Devouring Clan. Bloodscale's long-cherished wish was to return to the Devouring Clan in the ancient desolate heaven and kill Bing Ju with his own hands. However, Bloodscale had fallen, and Zhuowen could fulfill his long-cherished wish for Bloodscale. When Zhuowen knew Bing Ju for the first time, he had wanted to kill him. Bing Ju laughed, his laughter filled with unwillingness. "Bloodscale. It's that damn Bloodscale again. Why is it him every time? I can't accept this." Chapter 32:17. Self-explosion. When Ice Ju's body emitted a terrifying pressure, Yulu and the other members of the Devouring Clan changed their faces and retreated far away. "Sir, be careful. Ice Ju is going to explode. Retreat," Yulu shouted hastily. "Without my permission, he can't explode even if he wants to." Zhuowen's voice was calm. His right hand rose, and the purple river flew out of the void behind him. The moment the purple river wrapped around Bing Ju let out a shrill cry and self-detonated. Terrifying explosive energy spread out in all directions, causing rumbling sounds to ring out. However, they were all isolated by the Purple River. The Purple River was the destiny space-time kill. Since Zhuowen had fused with the Candle Dragon goo, his understanding of time and space had reached a new level. Zhuowen had improved the destiny space-time kill, the supernatural power he had created. It was many times stronger than before. Zhuowen grabbed the air with his right hand. The Purple River shrank and eventually turned into a purple water flow, entering the void. Ice Jew, who had exploded, disappeared. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Yu Lu and the members of the Devouring Clan took in breaths of cold air. The Devouring Clan had a world in their bodies. When they exploded, they would detonate the world in their bodies. The energy generated when a world exploded was tremendous. Although the world in the Devouring Clan's body was just a fake world, the energy generated when the fake world exploded was really intimidating. Ice Jew was a god of creation realm expert of the Devouring Clan. The power generated by his explosion was enough to kill several experts at K-Chi's level. But now, Bing Ju's self-destruction was forcibly suppressed and annihilated before Yu Lu and the others. What kind of power was needed to achieve this? When Yu Lu and the members of the Devouring Clan pulled themselves together, they looked at Zhuo with respect. They understood that the young man in front of them was so intimidating that it was beyond their imagination. He had reached a level that they couldn't predict. Yu Lu gingerly approached Zhuo. He hesitated for a while and then asked, "Sir, thank you for saving our Devouring Clan. May I know your name?" Zhuo turned around. His domineering aura completely dissipated and was replaced by a gentle aura. Zhuo smiled at Yu Lu and said, "I'm Zhuo, also from the Devouring Clan. I was stranded in the Star Battlefield. I've finally returned to the great desolate heaven territory." Zhuo had a good impression of Yu Lu. He had heard the conversation between Yu Lu and Bing Ju clearly. He knew that Yu Lu was a straightforward man who cared about the Devouring Clan. "Sir Zhuo, are you really from the Devouring Clan? It's our Devouring Clan's fortune to have an expert like you." Yu Lu's eyes were filled with excitement. In fact, when Zhuo had appeared, he had sensed the Devourer King's aura within Zhuo's body. However, Zhuo was so intimidating that he could only look up to him. Thus, he didn't have the face to ask Zhuo this question. "Sir Zhuo, you said that you and Sir Bloodscale were friends. May I know where Sir Bloodscale is now?" Yu Lu asked with bright eyes. The members of the Devouring Clan around also looked at Zhuo with anticipation. When Bloodscale was still the chief, he had been working for the Devouring Clan. It was much better than when Bing Ju was still the chief. And now, Bing Ju was dead. If Bloodscale was still here, of course, they would support Bloodscale as the new chief. Zhuo shook his head and said in a low-pitched voice, "Bloodscale died in a vestige." Hearing him, Yu Lu was bewildered. He looked sorrowful, but he quickly pulled himself together. Yu Lu lowered his voice and said, "Sir Zhuo, the Devouring Clan can't be without a chief. Now that Bing Ju is dead, only you are qualified to be the chief of the Devouring Clan. Yu Lu sincerely requests Sir Zhuo to be the new chief of the Devouring Clan." Then, Yu Lu knelt on the ground. The other clansmen followed suit. They looked expectant. Zhuo in front of them was too intimidating. In their eyes, he was at least a great expert at the middle stage of the Creator Realm. If the Devouring Clan had such a great expert, which tribe within billions of miles would dare to touch them? Zhuo waved his hand and said indifferently, "I won't stay here for a long time. Thus, I won't be the chief of the Devouring Clan. If you want to appoint a new chief, Yu Lu is the best candidate." Yu Lu changed his visage. He hurried to say, "Sir Zhuo, you know the current situation of the Devouring Clan. We're besieged on all sides. Only you can make the Devouring Clan rise again." Zhuo stopped Yu Lu. His imposing aura expanded as he said indifferently, "I told you that I won't be the chief. Do you want to force me?" His intimidating aura expanded like a rising tide. Yu Lu and the other clansmen of the Devouring Clan kept silent. They lowered their heads and didn't dare to talk. "Yu Lu, you'll be the chief of the Devouring Clan. But don't worry. As I'm a member of the Devouring Clan, of course, I won't ignore the clan's territory. Before I leave, I will help the Devouring Clan build a Heaven Passage Great Formation and train some Creator Realm experts. I can also promote you to the Creator Realm in a short time. Zhuowen looked at Yulu, his voice indifferent. However, Yulu was shocked. Soon he frowned. He thought that Zhuowen was boasting. Only the Heaven Passage Great Formation could be built by the Heaven Passage Great Formation Master. And to promote him to the Creator Realm in a short time, only the Creator Grade Divine Pellets could help him. Whether it was the Heaven Passage Great Formation or the Creator Grade Divine Pellets, the Devouring Clan couldn't have them. Moreover, he didn't believe that Zhuowen was a Heaven Passage Great Formation Master. Zhuowen didn't care about the disbelief in Yulu's eyes. He continued, that year, the Devouring Clan had 3 Ho-E Divine Arrows. Are the 3 Ho-E Divine Arrows still in the clan? Yulu changed his visage. He finally knew why this strange clansman had saved the Devouring Clan. It was because of the Ho-E Divine Arrows. Yulu sighed inwardly. He knew that he had to say it. Otherwise, the Devouring Clan would be in danger. Moreover, the young man in front of him was a member of the Devouring Clan. Giving the arrows to his clansmen was better than letting the other clans take them. Our Devouring Clan did have 3 Ho-E Divine Arrows. Unfortunately, 2 of them were taken by the experts of the Sacred Marten Clan and the Fire Elephant Clan. The other one has been hidden by Lord Xuelin. Currently, only I know the whereabouts of that Ho-E Divine Arrow. If Master Zhuowen needs it, I'll take it out and give it to you immediately, said Yulu respectfully. Zhuowen nodded and said directly, I do need the Ho-E Divine Arrow. You take it out and give it to me. But don't worry. I won't let you and your clansmen suffer losses. I'll compensate you accordingly. Yulu forced a smile. He didn't take Zhuowen's words seriously. As far as he was concerned, Zhuowen's words were merely pleasantries. After he took the Ho-E Divine Arrow, he wouldn't care about their clansmen. However, Yulu also knew that he and the entire Devouring Clan couldn't offend this young man. He could only compromise. Yulu was wrong this time. Zhuowen was a man of his words. If he said he would compensate them, he would do so. Moreover, he would double the compensation. Master Zhuowen, please go to the city center. I'll ask my men to arrange a good room for you. You just need to wait for me in the room. I'll take out the Ho-E Divine Arrow and give it to you, said Yulu respectfully. Zhuowen nodded. One of the clansmen led him to the city center. Looking at Zhuowen's back as he left, an older hunchback clansman came to Yulu's side and looked at Zhuowen's back. He sighed and said, Left Enforcer, this person's goal is the same as the Divine Sparrow race and ice extinction. Chapter 32:18. Tai Chi Energy Gathering Pill. The next day, Yulu knocked on Zhuowen's door and walked into the room with a wooden box on his back. Yulu bowed respectfully to Zhuowen, and then he removed the wooden box from his back and placed it on the table. He said, Lord Zhuowen, Ho-Yi's God arrows are in here. However, the Ho-Yi Divine Arrow is sealed in this wooden box. The ancestor of the Devouring Clan found a Creation Grade Formation Master to set up a Creation Grade Restriction spell in the wooden box. Master, if you want to take out the Ho-E Divine Arrow, you have to find a Creation Grade Formation Master to undo the restriction spell in the wooden box. Zhuowen took the wooden box and said calmly, It's just a Creation Grade Restriction spell. Why do I need to find a Creation Grade Formation Master? As he spoke, Zhuowen touched the wooden box with his right hand. As expected, he felt a wave of Formation Tao on the surface of the wooden box. A faint crystal light shield appeared on the surface of the wooden box, emitting strong waves of Formation Tao. Yulu saw Zhuowen touch the restriction spell on the surface of the wooden box. Although he looked respectful, there was a trace of contempt in his eyes. In Yulu's opinion, although Zhuowen was powerful, he knew nothing about Formation Tao. Now, Zhuowen had touched the restriction spell on the wooden box. In Yulu's opinion, it was an amateur's action. However, the following scene caused Yulu to be stunned on the spot. The moment Zhuowen activated the restriction spell on the surface of the wooden box, he did not withdraw his right hand. Instead, he formed a complicated seal with his right hand. Then, Zhuowen's right hand, which was forming the seal, quickly tapped on the surface of the wooden box. Then, the restriction spell on the surface of the wooden box trembled violently like a broken cliff. The restriction spell collapsed just like that. Zhuowen's right hand landed on the surface of the wooden box smoothly. Before Yulu could react to what had happened, Zhuowen waved his right hand and opened the jade box in his hand. There was a blood arrow lying quietly in the jade box. A terrifying killing intent surged out like a tidal wave, instantly filling the entire room. Yulu's expression changed greatly. The instant he felt the killing intent, he knew something was wrong and retreated. However, the moment he retreated with a groan, Zhuowen, who was sitting in the middle of the room, waved his right hand. A gentle energy wrapped around Yulu, protecting him from the killing intent. Yulu looked gratefully at Zhuo, one who was sitting at the side. Zhuowen picked up the divine arrow and examined it carefully. After confirming that it was indeed Hou Yi's divine arrow, he stored it in his great world. After Hou Yi's arrow was put away, the killing intent in the surroundings dispersed, and Yulu felt much more relaxed. He let out a sigh and said, "Lord Zhuowen, the seal on the surface of Hou Yi's arrow. It's just a destiny-level seal. I can easily break it," Zhuowen said nonchalantly. Yulu's heart was in turmoil. He finally realized that Zhuowen wasn't bragging when he said that he was a heaven-piercing divine formation master. It was true. If he was not a heaven-level formation master, how could he break a destiny-level seal so easily? "Lord Zhuo, I was blind before and thought that you were bragging. So it was me who was blind. Are you really a heaven-level formation master?" Yulu could not help but kneel on the ground. He knew very well that if the young man in front of him was really a heaven-level formation master, then it would be incredible. As far as Yulu knew, there had never been a heaven-level divine formation master in the entire untainted heavenly domain. The most powerful divine formation master was said to be the high priest of the sorcerer tribe, Wu Wuxian, who was only at the peak of the creation level. However, it was said that although High Priest Wu Wuxian was not a heaven-piercing formation Dao master, he had some kind of powerful secret technique that allowed him to set up a heaven-piercing formation Dao at the peak of the creation realm. This was the strongest divine array master that Yulu knew of. If the young man in front of him was really a heaven-level formation master, wouldn't he be the strongest formation master in the entire Eldritch heavenly domain? But soon, Yulu's heart was filled with ecstasy. He knew very well that a heaven-level formation master was very important to the tribe. With Zhuowen around, the Devouring Clan could set up a heaven-level formation to protect the Devouring Clan. Not to mention the Divine Sparrow Clan, which was only a mid-tier tribe in the Eldritch heavenly domain. Even if the top 10 tribes came to attack the Devouring Clan, they might not be able to break through. Zhuowen was stunned. He did not expect Yulu to apologize because he did not believe that he was the heaven-level formation master. He had never cared about this. "Brother Yulu, you don't have to apologize. Words have no proof. No one will believe you. This is human nature," Zhuowen said with a smile. Seeing that Zhuowen did not blame him, Yulu sighed in relief. He was afraid that Zhuowen would be angry at him and the entire Devouring Clan because of his previous contempt. "All right. I promised you this divine pill. Take it, and you should be able to break through to the creator realm soon." Zhuowen flicked his finger and took out a jade bottle from his great world. There were 3 emerald green divine pills in the jade bottle. A vigorous aura assailed Yulu's nose, causing him to tremble and become intoxicated. "Lord Zhuo, could this be the Tai Chi energy gathering divine pill?" Yulu closed the bottle and looked at Zhuowen excitedly. "It's the Tai Chi energy gathering divine pill. This divine pill is designed to help the creator realm break through to the creator realm. Its effect is excellent, and it's suitable for you. I've given you 3. Take 1, and you should be able to break through to the peak creator realm from the middle stage of the creator realm in a short time. The other two can help you break through to the creator realm with 100% certainty. It's just a matter of time. Zhuowen said casually. Yulu received the jade bottle excitedly. He bowed 90 degrees to Zhuowen, his eyes filled with gratitude. These two bottles contain the Genesis Divine Pills. Each bottle has 24 pills. I'll give them to you for safekeeping. You can distribute them to your clansmen whose realms are close to the creator realm, Zhuowen said casually. Yulu received the two jade bottles and bowed to Zhuowen. He admired Zhuowen even more. In his eyes, Zhuowen wasn't only strong, but he didn't have the domineering aura of the other experts. Moreover, he had given the devouring clan a portion of the Genesis Divine Pills. It wasn't something that many people could do. All right, you said that the Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe took the other two Divine arrows of the devouring clan. Do you know their exact locations? Asked Zhuowen. Yulu was bewildered. He asked gingerly, Lord Zhua, do you want to go to the Fire Elephant clan and the Sacred Marten clan to ask for the Divine arrows? Of course. The Divine arrows belong to our devouring clan. Only our clansmen can have them. How could they fall into the hands of others, especially the other clans? Zhuowen didn't blush and his heart didn't skip a beat. He was just a fake member of the devouring clan. How could he speak so righteously? Yulu blushed as he listened to Zhuowen. He was stirred up. What Zhuowen had said touched him deeply. However, Yulu pulled himself together and forced a smile. Lord Zhua, I know you're strong, but the Fire Elephant clan and the Sacred Marten clan aren't small clans in the great desolate heaven territory. They're famous clans. Our devouring clan isn't their match. Chapter 32:19. 10 Directional Cloud Annihilation Array. Don't worry. I will get the Divine arrow for you. Just tell me the location of the Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe. Zhuowen said indifferently. Yulu still wanted to persuade Zhuowen, but when he saw Zhuowen's cold eyes, he forcefully swallowed his words of persuasion and sighed in his heart. This is the location map of the Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe. The Fire Elephant tribe is the closest to our devouring tribe. Yulu took out a sheepskin map, spread it open, and pointed at 2 points in the northeast direction. The map Yulu took out was much more detailed than the one the Phoenix people Sanis had given him. However, this map only recorded a part of the primitive heaven realm. The most obvious place on the map was the Sorcerer tribe's location. The Sorcerer tribe was the largest tribe in the primitive heaven realm. Their tribe was located in the center of the primitive heaven realm and occupied the best land in the heaven realm. The Phoenix people's tribe was located in the northeast border of the primitive heaven realm. The devouring tribe was located somewhere between the Sorcerer tribe and the Phoenix people's tribe. The Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe were also located near the Phoenix people's tribe. The route Zhuowen took to find the Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe did not conflict with the route to the Phoenix people. Lord Zhua, you really can't touch the Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe because they are backed by the Phoenix people, one of the 10 great tribes. If you touch the Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe, you are indirectly slapping the Phoenix people in the face. The Phoenix people will not sit by and do nothing. Yulu saw that Zhuowen did not care about the Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe, so he could only tell him the disadvantages of touching the Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe. In his opinion, a powerful tribe like the Phoenix people should be able to make the young man before him calm down and fear them. What made Yulu speechless was that when the young man before him heard about the Phoenix people, he was like a cat that smelled a fish and became even more excited. According to what you said, the Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe are subordinate tribes of the Phoenix people? Zhuowen asked with narrowed eyes. Yulu nodded and said, the 10 great races basically all have subsidiary races, and these subsidiary races have the protection of the 10 great races, so they can often become the top races in the prehistoric heaven domain. Actually, the Fire Elephant clan and the Sacred Marten clan were just small clans that year. They weren't even as strong as our devouring clan. However, they were close to the Phoenix people. That year, they immediately attached themselves to the Phoenix people. They relied on the Phoenix people to develop into the strong clans they are now. In that case, all the more reason for me to go. Zhuowen said indifferently. Yulu was dumbfounded by Zhuowen's words. What was going on? He had said that the Fire Elephant race and the Sacred Marten race were subsidiary races of the Phoenix people in order to persuade Zhuowen not to act rashly. But now, after listening to his advice, Zhuowen seemed to want a yard after getting an inch. He actually wanted to go to the Fire Elephant race and the Sacred Marten race. Was there something wrong with his head? Brother Yulu, I will take this map first. But don't worry. Before I leave the Devouring Clan, I will set up a heaven-piercing grade great formation and several creation grade great formations in your tribe, Zhuowen said indifferently. Yulu, on the other hand, was somewhat anxious. He originally wanted to persuade Zhuowen, but unfortunately, Zhuowen's order for him to leave sent Yulu back. Then, Zhuowen began to set up a defensive formation in the Devouring Clan's tribe. The Devouring Clan's tribe also had a defensive formation. Unfortunately, it was only a Heaven Dao grade great formation, which was too low. It was no different from having no formation at all. Before Zhuowen set up the formation, he had broken the Heaven Dao grade great formation that had been accumulating for a long time. This time, the heaven-piercing grade great formation that Zhuowen had set up wasn't the 12 Divine Fiends formation, but the 10 Directional Clouds Annihilation formation. It was a pure killing formation. The 10 Directional Clouds Annihilation formation was something that Zhuowen had learned from the True Alchemy Array record. Although it was a killing formation like the 12 Divine Fiends formation, the 10 Directional Clouds Annihilation formation was much weaker than the 12 Divine Fiends formation. However, it was definitely a peerless killing formation. If this formation was fully activated, it could seriously injure an early Heaven-Piercing Master and trap an intermediate Heaven-Piercing Master. Unless an advanced Heaven-Piercing Master personally came, it would be very difficult to break this formation by force. In Zhuowen's opinion, the Devouring Clan was just a small tribe. They didn't have any resources that could attract the attention of a late Heaven-Piercing Master. With the 10 Directional Clouds Annihilation formation, the Devouring Clan's tribe could be said to be impregnable. Zhuowen spent 3 days to set up the 10 Directional Clouds Annihilation formation. Then, he spent another half a day to set up 7 creation grade great defensive formations inside the 10 Directional Clouds Annihilation formation. These 7 creation grade great defensive formations reinforced and restrained each other, forming an indestructible cycle. If the 10 Directional Clouds Annihilation formation was broken, these 7 creation grade great defensive formations could still hold on for a while. This period of time was enough for the tribesmen of the Devouring Clan to evacuate and escape. After setting up the great defensive formations, Zhuowen bid farewell to Yulu. However, Yulu took the initiative to follow Zhuowen to the Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe. He had acquaintances in the Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe. In this trip to the Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe, Yulu was really afraid that Zhuowen would act rashly. He wanted to ask his acquaintances to help him inquire about the situation of Ho Yi's divine arrow. After that, he would slowly come up with a countermeasure. Zhuowen thought that Yulu was right, so he agreed to let Yulu go with him to the Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe. He also knew that the Fire Elephant tribe and the Sacred Marten tribe had a long history of snatching Ho Yi's divine arrow from the Devouring Clan. After such a long time, these two tribes might not have remained in their tribes. Moreover, since Yulu had acquaintances, Zhuowen seized this chance to ask Yulu's acquaintances to ask around the Phoenix people to see if they had any news about Mu Qinxue. The gate of the big city opened. A group of Devouring Clan's tribesmen bid farewell to Zhuowen and Yulu. Before leaving, Yulu patted the shoulder of a rather young clansman. This young man was called Secludless. He was a rising star of the Devouring Clan. Rumors said that he had cultivated to the peak of creation grade in just a few thousand years. Moreover, Secludless' innate talent was excellent. Rumors said that he had touched the threshold of the creator realm. He just needed an opportunity to break through to the creator realm. Secludless' eyes fell on Zhuowen most of the time. In his eyes, there was undisguised admiration. Secludless had heard everything about Zhuowen from Yulu. He admired Zhuowen from the bottom of his heart. However, Zhuowen wasn't used to Secludless' passionate eyes. Looking at Secludless' eyes reminded him of the crazy fans on Earth. When those fans chased after their idols, the light in their eyes was exactly the same as Secludless. Secludless, while Master Zhuo and I aren't here, you'll be in charge of the tribe. You must protect the tribe well, reminded Yulu. Secludless nodded and promised Yulu loudly. After that, Yulu walked to Zhuowen. Zhuowen took out a formation flag and a jade slip, throwing them to Secludless. Secludless, this formation flag is the key to control the tribe's great formation. If someone invades the tribe while we're away, use the formation flag and the great formation. This jade slip has a detailed introduction of the tribe's great formation. Go back and read it. Then Zhuowen took Yulu and the space roulette, disappearing into the distant sky. Chapter 32:20. Secluded while Zhuowen and Yulu were leaving the Devouring Clan, the Divine Sparrow Clan's tribe was bustling with activity billions of miles away. Inside the divine city of the Divine Sparrow Clan, the army of the Divine Sparrow Clan was wearing dazzling golden armor. They were gathering in the massive square in front of the City Master Palace. The Divine Sparrow Clan's army in the square was almost 10,000 strong. They were much stronger than the Divine Sparrow Clan's army, led by Kei-Chi. At this moment, a stalwart figure walked out of the City Master Palace. He didn't look old. He was about 27 or 28 years old. There was a divine sparrow tattoo on his glabella, which twinkled with golden light. This young man was the current chief of the Divine Sparrow Clan, Sparrow Brilliance. Although he looked young, he was an old monster who had lived for 100,000 years. A group of people followed behind Sparrow Brilliance. They were all the experts of the Divine Sparrow Clan, and their auras weren't weak, especially the woman behind Sparrow Brilliance. Her aura was the strongest in this group, second only to Sparrow Brilliance. This woman was called Tayo, the protector of the Divine Sparrow Clan. She was extremely strong, and she was as famous as Kei-Chi. Moreover, Tayo was stronger than Kei-Chi. Kei-Chi was one of the 3 great experts of the Divine Sparrow Clan. Of the other 2, one was Tayo, and the other was the mysterious and powerful chief of the Divine Sparrow Clan, Sparrow Brilliance. At this moment, Sparrow Brilliance strode to the square, clasping his hands behind his back. He looked around at the orderly army in the square. "Do you know why I called you here?" Sparrow Brilliance's voice was full of energy, reverberating in the square like thunder. In the square, the Divine Sparrow Clan's army answered in unison, "Yes, Chief. We don't dare to disobey." Sparrow Brilliance nodded and continued. "The reason I called you here is simple. We're going to the Devouring Clan and exterminating those scums. Kei-Chi is a famous general of our Divine Sparrow Clan. He went to the Devouring Clan, but we lost contact with him, and we didn't hear anything from his army. I suspect that the Devouring Clan used some despicable means to ambush Kei-Chi's army. Today, I'm taking you to the Devouring Clan to punish them. Do you dare to come with me?" No one dares to disobey the Patriarch's orders. The Divine Sparrow Clan army on the plaza shouted in unison. Sparrow Brilliance was very satisfied with the performance of the Divine Sparrow Clan's army. Then he turned to Tayo behind him and said, "Tayo, go and reorganize the army. Then we will head to the Devouring Clan tribe." Xiao's beautiful eyes flickered, and she said hesitantly, "Patriarch, we are very clear about how strong Kei-Chi's army is. The Devouring Clan is just a small tribe. They can't resist the rising army." But after he went to the Devouring Clan's tribe, he seemed to have evaporated. Don't you find it strange? It's just the Devouring Clan. How could it be the opponent of Kei-Chi's great army? Sparrow Light's eyes flickered as he said solemnly, I know about this even if you don't tell me. You and I both know why Kei-Chi went to the Devouring Clan this time. It's for the Divine Arrow. If Kei-Chi had an accident in the Devouring Clan, it means that the Devouring Clan has a secret we don't know. You know how glorious the Devouring Clan used to be before it declined. Then, Sparrow Light's eyes sparkled with anticipation and longing. Xiao looked at Sparrow Light. She began to understand why Sparrow Light had attacked the Devouring Clan's tribe this time. It wasn't because of Kei-Chi, but because he wanted to see if the Devouring Clan had a big secret. If there was a big secret, it would be a good thing for Sparrow Light, because that big secret would be his. Xiao went down and reorganized the army. Under Sparrow Light's order, the massive army left the Divine Sparrow Clan's tribe, heading to the Devouring Clan's tribe. Inside the Devouring Clan's tribe, Secludless sat cross-legged in his room, holding a jade slip in his hand. This jade slip was given to him by Zhuowen, which recorded the operation method of the great formation that Zhuowen had set up in the Devouring Clan's tribe. Secludless had studied it for 3 days before he could understand the 10 Directions Cloud Destroyer Great Formation. Secludless was dumbstruck. It was such a complicated great formation that he couldn't even understand its operation method. And yet, Zhuowen had set up such a complicated great formation. He was simply a monster. Thinking about it, Secludless's admiration for Zhuowen became stronger. In his heart, Zhuowen was a perfect and flawless existence. Secludless stood up, walking out of the room to the towering city wall. His right hand held the formation flag that Zhuowen had given him. He took a deep breath and mumbled something. At the same time, his left hand made a series of hand seals. All of a sudden, the surface of the formation flag rippled. This ripple spread out like a rising tide. Then, the formation flag flew out from Secludless's hand, hovering above the giant city. Soon after, Secludless was horrified to sense that the entire city was emanating a terrifying fluctuation that sent chills down his spine. This wave of energy became more and more violent. Eventually, it covered the entire city. Wisps of clouds shrouded the city. In just a blink of an eye, the Devouring Clan's giant city became a city built on clouds. Many members of the Devouring Clan ran out in fright, seeing the clouds hovering around them. They were dumbstruck. They didn't know what was going on. Secludless's eyes were cautious. He found that the moment the clouds appeared, the entire city was filled with a terrifying murderous aura. This murderous aura directly attacked his soul, making him shudder. Secludless knew that this murderous aura wasn't aimed at anyone in the city. It was aimed at the intruders of the tribe. This 10 Directions Cloud Destroyer Great Formation is really intimidating. Secludless mumbled, his eyes filled with respect. He didn't doubt that if an intruder dared to enter this great formation, he would die without leaving a trace. Secludless retrieved the formation flag hovering above the city, his eyes filled with excitement. He understood clearly that with the 10 Directions Cloud Destroyer Great Formation, the Devouring Clan's tribe would be impregnable. In the great desolate heaven territory, not many forces could break the Devouring Clan's defense. What? Suddenly, Secludless furrowed his brows. He stood on the city wall, looking into the distance. At the moment he retrieved the formation flag, he felt a violent vibration coming from afar. The moment he cast his gaze over, he immediately saw an army rushing over at high speed. This army had a bright flag, and the emblem on the flag was a divine sparrow shining with golden light. The Divine Sparrow Clan's army. They don't want to give up. They're coming again. Secludless's face changed. He could see that the Divine Sparrow Clan's army this time was much bigger than the last time. There were at least 10,000 of them. In the past, such an army was enough to crush the Devouring Clan. But now, Secludless was full of confidence because the Devouring Clan had Zhuowen's 10 Directions Cloud Destroyer Great Formation. If the Divine Sparrow Clan's army dared to act rashly, the Divine Sparrow Clan's army would be the unlucky ones. The Divine Sparrow Clan's army moved fast. In the blink of an eye, They had reached the city gate of the devouring clan. Sparrow Brilliance rode a big horse, lining up. He looked at Secludless on the city wall arrogantly and said indifferently, "Ask your patriarch, Bing Ju, to come out." Secludless's aura wasn't strong, and he was so young. Sparrow Brilliance knew that Secludless was just a small character in the devouring clan. Secludless's eyes were cold as he said coldly, "Who do you think you are? How dare you order me around?" Chapter 32:21. Phoenix Blood City Sparrow Light's face turned pale. He coldly gazed at Secludless on the city wall. Secludless was a nobody. He was just a junior. Who gave him the courage to scold him in front of so many people? "Little bastard, I'll give you a chance now. Get your ass in front of me, kneel in front of me, and apologize to me. Otherwise, you won't live to see the sun tomorrow," Sparrow Brilliance said with a gloomy expression. Secludless sneered, "If you have guts, get your ass here and catch me." Then, Secludless ignored Sparrow Light, who was flustered and exasperated. He jumped down from the city wall and started to gather his clansmen in the city master's mansion. The members of the devouring clan were scared out of their wits. They knew that Juon had set up a powerful formation in their tribe. However, they didn't have any idea about the power of the formation. They knew how terrifying the Divine Sparrow clan was. They were afraid that the formation couldn't stop the Divine Sparrow clan's army. The entire devouring clan would be exterminated by the Divine Sparrow clan. Secludless was eager to try. The other clansmen didn't know the power of the 10-directional cloud annihilation formation, but he did. He was sure that if the Divine Sparrow clan's army dared to attack the city, they would be defeated. "You're just a small fry. You dare to humiliate me? Today, I will destroy the entire devouring clan." Seeing Secludless ignore him, Sparrow Light was so angry that his face turned pale. He pulled the reins with his right hand, commanding the army to attack the devouring clan's city. Tayo, who was originally following behind Sparrow Brilliance, wanted to open her mouth to stop Sparrow Brilliance because Secludless' actions just now were too arrogant. How could the devouring clan become so arrogant all of a sudden? She felt that something was wrong. However, Sparrow Light was so angry that he had lost his mind. He had already rushed forward. It was too late for Tayo to stop him. Tayo's beautiful eyes twinkled. She didn't follow the Divine Sparrow clan's army. Instead, she followed them from a distance. Boom! The gate of the devouring clan's city was trampled. The Divine Sparrow clan's army rushed into the city without any obstruction. However, the moment the Divine Sparrow clan's army entered the city, they found something wrong. They didn't see any member of the devouring clan behind the city gate. At the end of the street behind the city gate, a figure slowly walked out. It was a young warrior of the devouring clan. His eyes were clear and excited. Sparrow Brilliance was leading the army. When he saw the young man from the devouring clan, he was enraged. This young man from the devouring clan was the one who had insulted him on the city wall. "Are you scared now? Did he come out to surrender? Unfortunately, you no longer have the chance." Sparrow Brilliance clasped his hands behind his back. His eyes were filled with arrogance, and the corners of his mouth curled into a cruel smile. "Now die." Sparrow Brilliance's right hand made a grabbing motion in the air, and the blazing golden light transformed into a golden broadsword. He threw out abruptly, cutting through the air and heading straight for Secluded Void. Sparrow Brilliance was a late-stage creation realm expert. A casual strike from him could kill an early-stage creation realm expert. As for Secludless, he wasn't even a creator. In Sparrow Gleam's opinion, Secludless was dead for sure. Secluded Weo took a deep breath and took out an array flag. His hands quickly formed a seal, and the array flag suddenly flew out and floated in the middle of the city. Instantly, clouds and mist gushed out. A cloud dragon formed and swooped down, biting the golden broadsword that was heading for Secluded Void into dust. Sparrow Brilliance's expression changed slightly. He felt that the aura of the entire devouring clan's city had changed. It had become fierce and filled with terrifying killing intent. A killing array? Sparrow Brilliance felt the terrifying killing intent around him and immediately knew that there was a powerful killing array in the Devouring Clan city. The Divine Sparrow Clan army behind Sparrow Brilliance immediately became restless. Humph! How could a mere Devouring Clan have such a powerful killing array? Break it for me. Sparrow Brilliance stomped his feet and flew off his horse. A golden broadsword appeared in his hands, and he rushed toward the cloud dragon in front of Secluded Void. Sparrow Brilliance's words calmed the hearts of the Divine Sparrow Clan army. In their hearts, Sparrow Brilliance was the strongest. This killing array could be broken by Sparrow Brilliance alone. When Sparrow Brilliance and the Cloud Dragon collided, Sparrow Brilliance was sent flying like trash by the Cloud Dragon's tail. Then, the Cloud Dragon soared up and swallowed Sparrow Brilliance. Sparrow Brilliance's screams came to an abrupt end after being swallowed by the Cloud Dragon. Silence. The entire Devouring Clan city was in complete silence. The Divine Sparrow Clan army was dumbfounded. They did not even have time to react to what had happened before Sparrow Brilliance was killed. Secluded Void was also stunned, but then his face was filled with ecstasy. He did not expect the 10-directional cloud annihilation array to be so powerful. A late-stage creation realm expert like Sparrow Brilliance was killed in one move. Boom, boom, boom. After the Cloud Dragon swallowed Sparrow Brilliance, it roared into the sky. The countless clouds that surrounded the city condensed into cloud dragons one after another. A total of 10 cloud dragons condensed in the sky above the city and swooped down toward the Divine Sparrow Clan army. At that moment, the entire Divine Sparrow Clan army was so frightened that their legs turned to jelly. Their faces were frighteningly pale. Tayo, who was standing at the back of the army, was even paler. She involuntarily knelt on the ground, and her beautiful eyes lost all fighting spirit. It's over. The Divine Sparrow Clan is done for. Tayo muttered to herself. Then she saw the 10 cloud dragons rushing into the Divine Sparrow Clan army. They got closer and closer to her, and finally, they completely engulfed her. 2 months later, Zhuan looked at the shadow of a huge city that appeared in the distance, and a trace of relief appeared on his face. This huge city was suspended 100 meters above a wasteland, and golden red flames surrounded the huge city. These flames seemed to have a mind of their own. They constantly surrounded the huge city and then rushed up into the sky. It was as if a divine bird was going to soar into the sky from these flames. Phew! We finally arrived at Phoenix Blood City. Yulu stood beside Zhuan, as the corners of his mouth revealed a trace of smile. Along the way, Yulu introduced Phoenix Blood City to Zhuan. It was said that Phoenix Blood City was a huge city that the Phoenix people had built outside their clan. This city was tens of thousands of times bigger than an ordinary city. The purpose of building this city was to allow the many subordinate forces of the Phoenix people to trade and interact in Phoenix Blood City. The location of Phoenix Blood City was also very unique. It was built in the center of the many subordinate forces of the Phoenix people. It was not far from any of the subordinate forces of the Phoenix people. Apart from the subordinate forces of the Phoenix people, Phoenix Blood City also welcomed other foreign races into the city. However, foreign races that entered Phoenix Blood City had to strictly abide by the rules. Otherwise, they would be easily eliminated by the law enforcers in the city. Before coming, Yulu had already said that it was impossible for Zhuan to directly enter the cities of the Fire Elephant Clan and the Sacred Marten Clan unless he fought his way in. After all, the cities of the Fire Elephant Clan and the Sacred Marten Clan were where their clansmen gathered. If one was not their guest, why would they allow one to enter their cities? This was the same logic as those powerful sects in the human territory, where outsiders were not allowed to enter. Before confirming the exact location of the Divine Arrow, it was indeed inappropriate for Zhuan to immediately rush over. However, Phoenix Blood City was different. Foreign races could enter this place. Chapter 32:22. Enforcers. After receiving the heavenly law origin crystal from Yulu, the guards of Phoenix Blood City impatiently allowed Zhuowen and Yulu to enter the city. They didn't even bother to check. Phoenix Blood City has a strong clan like the Phoenix people behind them. They are powerful, so they aren't afraid of people causing trouble in the city. If someone deliberately causes trouble, they usually end up in a miserable state. Yulu led Zhuowen into the city and smiled as he spoke to Zhuowen. After entering Phoenix Blood City, Zhuowen discovered that there was only one huge street in Phoenix Blood City. This street was like a river that ran through the entire Phoenix Blood City. On both sides of the street, there were beautiful and exquisite shops that sold all kinds of things. On the street, there were people coming and going. Of course, they were all strange-looking foreign clans. Lord Zhuowen, my friend, invited us to the Greenblood Tea House for a chat. Yulu said as he looked at Zhuowen, seeking his opinion. You lead the way. I'm not familiar with this place. Zhuowen said indifferently. The Greenblood Tea House is one of the more famous tea houses in Phoenix Blood City. It's in the middle of Phoenix Blood City and is quite a distance from here. Why don't I let my friend choose a place that's closer to here? Yulu continued. No need. Let's go there. I could take a stroll around Phoenix Blood City. Zhuowen said. Yulu nodded and led Zhuowen into the depths of the street. It had to be said that Phoenix Blood City was indeed very lively. On the way, Zhuowen saw many clans that he didn't recognize. Moreover, the shops in Phoenix Blood City had everything. Zhuowen saw many rare divine medicines, refining materials, as well as high-grade divine tools. However, the prices of these things were extremely high. Moreover, these divine medicines and materials were too low-grade for Zhuowen, so he wasn't too interested. With Zhuowen's current level, unless it was a rare creation-grade divine medicine or a heaven-reaching grade divine medicine, it really wouldn't attract his interest. Your Immortal Treasure Pavilion is forcing people to buy and sell. Do you even know the rules? This Scorching Sun Immortal Conglomerate Stone is clearly mine. I just want you to appraise it. If the price you offer is suitable, I will sell it to your Immortal Treasure Pavilion. But I'm not satisfied with the price you gave me. Now, you actually have the audacity to say that the Scorching Sun Immortal Congealed Stone belongs to your Myriad Treasure Pavilion, slandering me as a thief. Your Myriad Treasure Pavilion is shameless. An outsider was standing in front of a shop. His voice was very loud, and his face and ears were red. It was clear that he was very angry. The voice of this foreign race also attracted the attention of the other foreign races that were shopping around. Zhuowen and Yulu also turned their gazes towards the Immortal Treasure Pavilion. The reason why Zhuowen paid attention to this place was mainly because he heard about the Scorching Sun Immortal Congealed Stone. He also knew that the Scorching Sun Immortal Condensing Stone was a kind of creation-grade material. This kind of material was very rare and ordinary to him, so he originally wouldn't care about it. However, Xiaohei sent him a message through Divine Thought, saying that the Scorching Sun Immortal Congealed Stone was not ordinary. It would be very helpful for the Blood Immortal Sword and the Death Sacrifice Sword to upgrade. There were a total of 3 figures in the Immortal Treasure Pavilion. One of them was a big-bellied foreign race. At first glance, one could tell that he was the owner of the Immortal Treasure Pavilion. The other 2 were burly and vigorous. They should be the bodyguards of the Immortal Treasure Pavilion. The big-bellied owner saw that the foreign race was holding the brocade box tightly in his hand and was making a lot of noise to attract the attention of the surrounding foreign races. His face was very ugly. He was in the wrong in this matter. Now that this customer didn't know what was good for him and made the matter public, he was naturally embarrassed. What a shameless person. He took away something that belongs to our Immortal Treasure Pavilion and still wants to smear our name. How despicable. The 2 of you beat him to death and then take back the Scorching Sun Immortal Congealed Stone from this thief's hand, the owner said angrily. As soon as the owner finished speaking, the 2 burly foreign race people took a step forward. Their fists rained down on the disheveled foreign race person. The foreign race person who was beaten up wasn't very strong. He was only the Lord of Mystery. The 2 bodyguards' cultivations were 1 realm higher than him. They were both eternal overlords. The result was obvious. The foreign race person was no match for them. He was beaten black and blue and spat out blood. The brocade box in his hand was also snatched away by one of the bodyguards. Thump, thump, thump. The sound of orderly footsteps suddenly came from the depths of the street. Then, Juan saw a group of people dressed in fiery red armor rushing in his direction. Strangely, everywhere this group passed, the xeno-race experts on the streets would open up a path for them while revealing fearful and reverent expressions in their eyes. Juan narrowed his eyes. He was all too familiar with the aura of this group. They were all Phoenix people. He had interacted with the Phoenix people many times. He had even kidnapped the Phoenix people's holy maiden. He was naturally very familiar with the unique aura of the Phoenix people. There were more than 30 people in this group. Each of them had a strong aura. They were much stronger than the average foreign race person. The leader was a middle-aged man with a flame pattern between his eyebrows. Juan knew that this was the symbol of the Phoenix people. The Phoenix people's holy maiden also had such a flame pattern between her eyebrows. However, the Phoenix people's holy maiden had a much brighter and fiercer pattern. This meant that the bloodline of the Phoenix people's holy maiden was much higher than that of the average Phoenix people. The middle-aged man arrived in front of the Immortal Treasure Pavilion. He glanced at the wounded foreign race person on the ground, then at the shop owner and his two bodyguards. He said coldly, "What's going on here? Isn't there a rule in Phoenix Blood City that forbids private fights?" The pot-bellied shop owner hurriedly walked out. He pointed at the foreign race person on the ground and said, "Lord Xiao, this person came here to buy immortal treasures. He took a fancy to the immortal scorching sunstone. He said that he wanted to take a look first. Naturally, I showed it to him. Who knew that this shameless person would immediately claim that the immortal scorching sunstone was his after seeing it. Then, he insisted that we were blackmailing him. I was also forced to let my two bodyguards snatch it. However, he didn't cooperate, so we could only use force." As he spoke, the shop owner took out a storage bag and handed it to the middle-aged man. He said, "I also know that we have violated the rules. Take this as my apology to you, Lord." The middle-aged man named Xiao Shi took the storage bag under the watchful eyes of the crowd. He looked at it carefully and revealed a satisfied expression. "Seeing that you were also forced to do this, I will not pursue the matter," Xiao Shi said indifferently. "Then, I really have to thank you, Lord. You are indeed magnanimous." The shop owner's expression was respectful, but he hated that foreign race person to the core. If this fellow had not made such a big fuss, there would not have been so much trouble. He even lost so many heavenly law origin crystals for nothing. "Lord Enforcer, this unscrupulous merchant has wronged me. The immortal scorching sunstone is clearly mine. I brought it to the Immortal Treasure Pavilion to appraise. If the price was right, I would have sold it. However, the Immortal Treasure Pavilion is shameless. They actually wanted to force a sale. The price was far lower than the value of the immortal scorching sunstone. They even tried to snatch it. I only acted in self-defense." The wretched foreign race person hurriedly defended himself. Juan, who was standing in the crowd, secretly shook his head. If this fellow had not spoken, perhaps it would not have been a big deal. Now that he had spoken, he was really done for. Sure enough, Xiao Shi's face was gloomy. He said coldly, "You are quite bold. First, you deceived the Immortal Treasure Pavilion. Now, you want to deceive me. This is a double crime. Men, take this person away and lock him in the dungeon." Chapter 32-23. Scorching sun immortal congealed, Stonejuan couldn't help but frown as he watched the enforcer drag the alien away. He could tell that the alien wasn't lying. There must be something fishy in the words of the Immortal Treasure Pavilion's owner. However, the enforcer didn't even ask any questions before capturing the alien. What made Juan feel even more disdain was that the enforcer called Xiao Shi had blatantly accepted bribes from the Immortal Treasure Pavilion's owner in front of them. If the enforcers were all like this, then the Phoenix Blood City's rule of not fighting would be a joke. Zhuowen didn't speak up for the alien. Instead, he silently recorded the entire scene with his crystal ball. After Xiao Shi ordered the enforcers to drag the alien away, he whispered something to the shop owner. The shop owner revealed a fawning smile before Xiao Shi left. Once the enforcer left, the surrounding aliens also dispersed. Their gazes were as calm as an ancient well. It was obvious that they were already used to this. Yulu could tell from Zhuowen's expression just now. So he said softly, "Lord Zhua, in Phoenix Blood City, the enforcers are the Iron Law. They definitely can't be offended. Even if a third step Almighty enters Phoenix Blood City, they wouldn't easily offend the enforcers. After all, the enforcers are people of the Phoenix people. Once you offend them, it'll be terrible." Zhuowen nodded, but he sneered in his heart. He wasn't afraid of the Phoenix people. His purpose for coming here was to cause trouble for the Phoenix people. However, he didn't want to act rashly and alert the enemy. He also didn't want to poke his nose into other people's business. Naturally, there was no need for him to stand out. Zhuowen walked towards the Immortal Treasure Pavilion. Yulu's pupils shrank as he hurriedly chased after Zhuowen. He was afraid that Zhuowen would seek justice for what had happened just now. "Brother Yulu, don't worry. I'm only going to the Immortal Treasure Pavilion to buy the Scorching Sun Immortal Congealed Stone," Zhuowen said with a faint smile. Yulu was even more anxious now. From the scene just now, he had also realized what was going on. This Immortal Treasure Pavilion was a black shop. Why did Zhuowen still want to buy things here? Wasn't this just inviting trouble? Zhuowen did not care about what Yulu was thinking as he arrived at the entrance of the Immortal Treasure Pavilion. At this moment, the shopkeeper had yet to enter the shop. When he saw Zhuowen striding over, he cast a sidelong glance at Zhuowen and said indifferently, "Little brother, what do you want to buy?" The shopkeeper's tone was not very good. He recognized that Zhuowen was also a bystander just now. He was not sure if the young man in front of him was really buying something. The two bodyguards standing behind the shop owner suddenly stepped forward and stared coldly at Zhuowen. Their eyes were filled with hostility. The corners of Zhuowen's mouth curled up slightly. He looked at the brocade box in the shop owner's hand and said, "Shop owner, this Scorching Sun Immortal Condensing Stone is useful to me. How much do you intend to sell it for?" The shop owner was startled. He clearly had not expected that Zhuowen had come to buy the Scorching Sun Immortal Condensing Stone that he had just forced to sell. The shop owner glanced at Zhuowen and Yulu with apprehension, because he realized that the auras of these two people were even more vigorous than his bodyguards. Their cultivations were definitely above the eternal Overlord realm. However, when he remembered that this was Phoenix Blood City, he immediately felt more confident and revealed a standard smile at the same time. "Dear customer, you have a good eye. This Scorching Sun Immortal Condensing Stone is something that I have spent a lot of effort to obtain. You should know that back then, in order to obtain this Scorching Sun Immortal Condensing Stone," just as the shop owner was about to talk nonsense in front of Zhuowen, he was immediately stopped by Zhuowen. "I don't want to know the origin of this Scorching Sun Immortal Condensing Stone. I just want to know how many Heavenly Law origin crystals it costs to buy this Scorching Sun Immortal Condensing Stone." The shop owner's eyes flickered. After thinking for a while, he stretched out 5 fingers and gestured in front of Zhuowen. He smiled and said, "I see that you and I are fated, so I'll give you a discount. 50 million high-grade Heavenly Law origin crystals." Zhuowen narrowed his eyes and coldly looked at the shop owner in front of him. Although the Scorching Sun Immortal Condensing Stone was a relatively precious creation-grade material, its price could not be so outrageous. 5 million high-grade Heavenly Law origin crystals was enough to buy this Scorching Sun Immortal Condensing Stone. However, this shop owner had actually quoted a price of 50 million high-grade Heavenly Law origin crystals. This was simply a blatant extortion. "Shop owner, isn't this price a little too high?" Zhuowen said in an unfriendly tone. The shop owner was very bold and did not feel embarrassed in the slightest. He smiled and said, "Dear customer, this is the price of the Scorching Sun Immortal Condensing Stone in Phoenix Blood City. Moreover, I dare guarantee that in the entire city, Only my shop has scorching sun immortal condensing stone. I can't take out so many heavenly law origin crystals in a short period of time. I'll use divine pills to exchange with you. Zhuan frowned slightly. He did have so many heavenly law origin crystals in his great world, but taking them out was a little painful for him. After all, heavenly law origin crystals were too important to his daily cultivation. He could not bear to take out so many. However, if he used divine pills to exchange, the pressure on him will be much lighter. After all, he was a master alchemist and had many high-grade divine pills on him. Do you have any creation-grade divine pills? If you don't, it's not enough to exchange for this scorching, sun, immortal condensing stone. The shop owner said lazily. This Tai Chi energy gathering divine pill is a creation-grade divine pill. I think it's enough to exchange for this scorching, sun, immortal condensing stone. Zhuowen took out the Tai Chi energy gathering divine pill he had refined in the devouring clan tribe and handed it to the shop owner. It's actually the Tai Chi energy gathering divine pill. The shop owner's eyes lit up with ecstasy as he received the divine pill from Zhuowen. This Tai Chi energy gathering divine pill was a precious divine pill that could help a creator break through to the creator realm. No cultivator below the creator realm could resist this divine pill. However, he quickly restrained his joy and took the Tai Chi energy gathering divine pill. He looked at Zhuowen expectantly and asked, "Do you have more on you?" One Tai Chi energy gathering divine pill should be enough to exchange for this scorching sun immortal condensing stone, right? Zhuowen said indifferently. 10. Customer, if you can take out 10 Tai Chi energy gathering divine pills, this scorching sun immortal condensing stone is yours. The shop owner said expectantly. Zhuowen glanced at the shop owner indifferently and took out 9 Tai Chi energy gathering divine pills. Speaking of which, 10 Tai Chi energy gathering divine pills were really nothing to Zhuowen. Of course, if not for Xiao Hei's strong request to buy this scorching sun immortal condensing stone, even if Zhuowen did not care much about the Tai Chi energy gathering divine pills, he would not have taken out 10 to exchange for this item. After receiving the other 9 Tai Chi energy gathering divine pills, the shop owner trembled with excitement. He did not expect this young man to really take out 9 more Tai Chi energy gathering divine pills. Didn't this mean that this young man had even more Creator Realm divine pills on him? Thinking of this, the shop owner trembled with excitement. Zhuowen said indifferently, "Shop owner, give me the scorching sun immortal condensing stone." Customer, 10 Tai Chi energy gathering divine pills might not be enough. If you take out another 10, I'll give you this scorching sun immortal condensing stone without another word. The shopkeeper's throat trembled as he spoke with a greedy gaze. "Oh, are you courting death?" Chapter 32:24. To dismantle the shop owner was fearless, and he hurriedly retreated into the shop. He made a hand seal with his right hand, and a ripple of array formation appeared at the entrance of the shop. Zhuowen was a little surprised. The array formation that appeared at the entrance of the shop was actually a God of Creation stage defensive array formation. This Immortal Treasure Pavilion shop wasn't very big, but it actually had such a powerful defensive array formation. This made Zhuowen feel a little surprised. Lord Zhua, all the shops in Phoenix Blood City have their own independent array formations. These array formations were set up by the God Formation Masters of the Phoenix people at a high price. The higher the level of the array formation, the higher the price. This Immortal Treasure Pavilion must have spent a lot of heavenly Tao origin crystals to hire a God of Creation stage formation master to set up such an array formation in their shop. Yulu explained softly beside Zhuowen. There was hesitation in his eyes as he said, "Lord Zhua, once the array formation is activated, the enforcers will definitely be alerted. I think we should leave quickly. The enforcers should be here soon." Zhuowen nodded. His gaze passed through the array formation at the entrance of a shop and landed on the shop owner. I don't want to waste any more time with you. Give me the scorching sun, immortal congealed stone, and I won't touch you or your shop. The shop owner laughed loudly, and there was a mocking look in his eyes. Dear customer, where do you get your confidence from? You actually want to destroy my shop. After saying that, the shop owner sat down in the shop and poured himself a cup of wine. In his eyes, although Zhuan and Yulu's auras were powerful, they were only God of Creation stage cultivators. The array formation at the entrance of his shop was a God of Creation stage defensive array formation, and it was enough to stop the two of them for a while. Soon, the enforcers would be here. When that time came, he would use the same trick again. The two of them would suffer the same fate as the last outsider, and he would have obtained 10 Tai Chi spirit gathering divine pills for free. At this moment, many outsiders had gathered around the shop again. When they saw the defensive array formation at the entrance of the Immortal Treasure Pavilion, they all shook their heads. They knew that the two people at the entrance of the shop were unlucky. Zhuan sneered, and he took a step forward and threw a punch at the entrance of the shop. You actually dared to take on the formation head-on. You're simply brainless. The shopkeeper took a sip of tea and saw Zhuan punch towards the array. He couldn't help but laugh loudly. Rumble. Zhuan's fist smashed the big array. His right hand turned into a claw and swept out like lightning, blasting the two bodyguards in front of him into a bloody mist. Then, he grabbed the pot-bellied shopkeeper. The shopkeeper had just taken a sip of tea, but before he could swallow it, Zhuan grabbed his neck with his right hand. This. What's going on? The shopkeeper was astonished. When had the God of Creation stage defensive formation in front of his shop become so fragile? Spare my life. The shopkeeper's body trembled as he sensed the terrifying killing intent in Zhuan's eyes. He almost knelt down and begged for mercy. Unfortunately, Zhuan didn't give him another chance. He exerted force with his right hand and snapped the shopkeeper's neck. A powerful force invaded the shopkeeper's mind and crushed his soul. The moment he killed the shopkeeper, Zhuan took away the shopkeeper's spiritual ring. Zhuan swung his right hand and threw the shopkeeper onto the signboard of the Immortal Treasure Pavilion. The shopkeeper's huge body smashed the signboard into pieces. Then, the signboard fell to the ground heavily. Yulu, let's go. Zhuan grabbed Yulu. The space-time energy swirled around them, and they disappeared on the spot. After Zhua, Wen's Panga's sacred body had fused with the Candle Dragon goo, his use of the power of time and space had almost reached another wonderful level. When he disappeared and left, no one around saw it clearly. Not long after Zhuan disappeared, Xiushi arrived with a team of law enforcers. When Xiushi saw that the signboard of the Immortal Treasure Pavilion had been smashed and that the shopkeeper and two bodyguards were dead in the shop, he was furious. Who did this? Xiushi glanced at the surrounding alien tribes with an unfriendly gaze. The surrounding alien tribes' eyes flickered. They were all frightened by Xiushi's fierce gaze. They quickly waved their hands, indicating that they had nothing to do with the destruction of the Immortal Treasure Pavilion. Master Xiushi, it was done by two members of the Devouring Clan. An alien tribe member walked out with fear. He took out a crystal ball and handed it to Xiushi. Xiushi took the crystal ball and looked at the recording. The recording was the scene where Zhuan had broken the restriction at the entrance of the shop with one punch and killed the shopkeeper instantly. Xiushi put away the crystal ball and said to the alien tribe member, "You're good. Since you've done well, if you want to join the law enforcers, just tell them my name. I'm sure you can join the law enforcers." "Thank you, Master Xiushi." The alien tribe member was overjoyed. Under many envious gazes, he bowed to Xiushi. The law enforcers of the Phoenix Blood City were the most popular profession. All the alien tribes in the Phoenix Blood City wanted to join the law enforcers. Unfortunately, the law enforcers of the Phoenix Blood City were very strict. Unless you had some connections, it was almost impossible to join the law enforcers through the proper channels. That alien tribe member had just given Xiushi the recording in the crystal ball, and he easily got the qualification to join the law enforcers. How could the other alien tribes not be jealous of him? Xiushi talked to the alien tribe member for a while, and then took his team away. The Immortal Treasure Pavilion was a shop in the Phoenix Blood City, and someone had destroyed it. This was really bad. Xiao had to mobilize the rest of the law enforcers to search for the two bold members of the Devouring Clan. The Purple River slowly disappeared. Zhuowen and Yu Lu had arrived at the middle section of the Phoenix Blood City street. The middle and back sections of the street were even more crowded. All of them were experts of the outsider races. Zhuowen and Yu Lu had changed their appearances and the aura of the Devouring Clan on their bodies. Then, they walked to the Green Blood Tea House, which wasn't far from here. As Zhuowen had just destroyed the Immortal Treasure Pavilion, the law enforcers must have noticed him. If they swaggered on the street like that, it was no different than courting death. The Green Blood Tea House was a high-class place in the Phoenix Blood City. It was a 10-zhang-tall building. Among the many shops, it stood out like a crane in a flock of chickens. Entering the Green Blood Tea House, a beautiful alien tribewoman wearing a Chong Sam leisurely walked over. Her beautiful face was filled with a professional smile. This beautiful alien tribewoman didn't look different from human. The only difference was that she had a white, furry foxtail. Nine-tailed fox tribe. Zhuowen was surprised. This beautiful alien tribewoman had the same aura as Mei Ying, whom he had met in the Slaughter Heavenly Domain. However, her aura was much weaker. This woman was just a newbie who had just reached the Dao realm. Hearing Zhuowen mention the nine-tailed fox tribe, the beautiful alien tribewoman's face stiffened. She hurried to say, "Sir, you're joking. I'm Humei. I'm not from the noble nine-tailed fox tribe. I'm just from the white fox tribe." Master Zhua, the white fox tribe and the nine-tailed fox tribe are similar. However, their positions are as different as heaven and earth. The members of the white fox tribe have only one tail, while the nine-tailed fox tribe has at least two tails. It's impossible for them to have only one tail. Yu Lu lowered his voice to Zhuowen. "I'm sorry. I was rash." Zhuowen apologized. Chapter 32-25. Siko, 2 guests. Our Green Blood Tea House has 10 floors, with the lowest floor being the worst and the 10th floor being the best. Naturally, the price increases with each floor. "May I know which floor's private room you would like to go to?" Humei said as she handed Zhuowen and Yu Lu a palm-sized jade token each. This jade token recorded a lot of information about the Green Blood Tea House, as well as the various teas, pastries, and other delicacies in the Green Blood Tea House, as well as the corresponding prices. With a sweep of divine sense, this information could be clearly seen. "We have a friend who has booked a private room here, the 3rd floor's heaven room," Yu Lu said as he returned the jade token to Humei. By the time Zhuowen and Yu Lu arrived at the Bishua Tea House, Yu Lu's acquaintance had already sent Yu Lu the private room he had booked. Therefore, the two of them did not need to book an additional private room. They only needed to report the room number. "2 guests, please follow me." Humei smiled as she put away Zhuowen and Yu Lu's jade tokens and led them to the 3rd floor. "2 guests, this is the 3rd floor's heaven room. You may enter. Humei will withdraw first." After Humei finished speaking, she automatically withdrew while Zhuowen and Yu Lu opened the door and entered. The private room was very spacious, and near the window, there was a carved jade table. At this moment, a middle-aged man in a black trench coat was sitting on top of the jade table. Originally, the middle-aged man was paying attention to the scenery outside the window, but when he heard the door open, he slowly turned his head. The moment Zhuowen saw the middle-aged man's face, he couldn't help shuddering, because this person's face was covered in terrifying scars. Zhuowen could see that these scars used to be hard scales, but now they were completely destroyed, leaving behind only a series of scars. There were almost no intact scars on his face. Before coming here, Yu Lu had mentioned this person to Zhuowen. It was said that Yu Lu himself didn't know what race this person was from. He only knew that this person was called Siko. When Yu Lu first came to Phoenix Blood City, he had sought out this person to cooperate with him, inquiring about some enemy races, and the information this person provided was completely accurate and reliable. This was also the reason why Yu Lu insisted on looking for this person. Furthermore, the moment he entered the private room, Zhuowen discovered that there was a strange energy lingering around Saiku. This strange energy was like a layer of gauze, completely concealing Siko's aura. Zhuowen actually couldn't see through Saiku's cultivation. "Have a seat. Tell me why you're looking for me." Saiku merely glanced at Zhuowen and Yulu. After saying this, he turned his head and looked out the window. It was as if he had no intention of paying attention to Zhuowen and Yulu if they did not speak.